Hey, this is Zoe Thorogood, creator of It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, and you're listening to 11 O'Clock Comics.
Savage. That was a savage. Call to arms, my friends. Rallying the troops. Oh boy. I wish it worked everywhere but in this room. People in Sheboygan are like, yeah! And Jason's just like, let me see cross. You got the 2 over the 5, making the 7. Jeez.
The VLOOKUP action going.
Unbelievable. Burning Blu-rays. Whatever.
I rebooted. I'm back.
Oh, nice. Oh, hey, and we did not reboot because it's the same old here on 11 O'Clock Comics, episode 885.
Damn.
And there's a nice echo there. Thank you,
really
Jason.
Is.
Yep. He is perfect in every way. I would not change this motherfucker for $1 million.
We have it after 800 and some
I
odd
know.
episodes.
I think we're stuck. I am Vince B.
Thank God you are Vince B. Otherwise, I wouldn't know where I am. I am David A. Price.
This is true, and of course, I am Vince's favorite because I am Abraham von Helsing.
Oh, yes. You're not Van Helsing. You're Jason Wood, everybody. And it's the holiday episode, or at least the last episode before the holiday. And as usual, as it should be, we pulled in some family. You know who this man... Yes. We got Tony Fleecs this week.
Hey, gang. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy to be here.
Nice. Isn't it amazing when we don't have to go through the laundry list of stuff you've done? It's just like, hey, it's Tony Fleecs. Because everybody knows what you've done.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, we can still talk about it if you like.
And what's nice is that Tony is the kind of family that isn't accused of sexual battery, like Vin Diesel.
That's true. Fingers crossed for me. I think we're good here on the West Coast.
Nice.
I'm jacking off in front of nobody.
Oof. And this episode has been brought to you by you. Yes, you. The discerning buyer who wants to save a lot of money on their comic book stuff, and you know where to go, where the prices are low, and that's cheapgraphicnovels.com. Cheapgraphicnovels.com. Even an outsider, a rube, could understand what you're going to get from this company. Cheapgraphicnovels.com. You get your omnibus editions, your trade paperbacks, your club, your manga, your OGNs, all that stuff, art books, everything, for a fraction of what you can get it for elsewhere, especially Amazon. We did it. We did the little scientific experiment, and it turned out that cheap graphic novels, in almost every instance, was much cheaper than Amazon. Yes. And remember the drill. I know we don't have a code, so Tony's going to say something, but that's okay.
No, I had it explained to me. I'm fine now.
Oh, nice. Here's what...
in your place?
Yeah, he settled me right down.
Sit the fuck down, please. Here's what you do.
Fucking do it.
You are going to place an order because, my goodness, savings, with an exclamation point at the end of it. You're going to get an email confirmation to said order, and you are going to reply to that email saying, 11 o'clock comics told me about this. And then Max is going to pat you on your little butt and say, well, my child, you can have free shipping on your next order. So you saved going in and you saved coming out. Cheapgraphicnovels.com.
Could not be more convenient.
No, I placed another, I can't stop. I
placed an order an hour ago.
Yeah.
I got to email him this weekend.
Stuff.
Bought some Jodorowsky, Vince.
Pardon me?
Bought some Jodorowsky.
What'd you get?
Today.
What'd you get?
I got, hold on a second. Let me, one second here.
Did you get the White Llama?
I did.
Nice. White Llama's great.
I got the White Llama and Son of the Gun.
I knew it. Yep. Those are two very good works. Unfortunately, I don't have the collected editions of them. I have the individual volumes, so they take up a lot of space. I do have the Super Deluxe slipcase version of White Llama that we got at Heroes. What was it? The last time we went. I paid like $5 for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but my White Llama is individual volumes. I'm not complaining because it's a great work, but I would like to consolidate a little more.
Some might say you saved the llama for your mama.
I did. I sure did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. It is the time.
Cool.
No, it's not cold.
Oh, that's a little digging over there.
Well,
All I did was mention Winamp.
why did you sting me? Because I'm a scorpion.
Oh.
Here, I have from Susquehanna Brewing Company. That's local, by the way, in case you don't know. This was given to me. The first time I tasted it, this is the Beer of the Month Club. The first time I tasted it was about 10 minutes ago. It is called Boilo beer. And it is with secret family recipes passed down through the generations. Boilo is a whiskey punch brewed with citrus fruit, honey, herbs, and spices to warm the heart and brighten the spirits during the darkest days of the year. Enjoy this strong wheat ale inspired by the Yuletide traditions of our neighbors in Schuylkill County. Yo der boy, this one's for yous guys. And they're 16-ounce cans, so Tony and I are going to be putting the lampshades on in a little while, dancing. It's very good, but it's spicy. Yeah, spicy. It's wheat. No, I don't mean spicy as in, yeah, it's not hot. It's just like this stuff that I just read is in there. It's different, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat, David.
Wheat la coche.
Like Will Wheaton.
Wheat.
What you drinking, Jason?
Well, in honor of it being the holidays, in honor of our boy being here with us, I am actually having some alcohol. Yes.
Nice. Good boy.
And let me tell you something. Mark this down, folks. This is by far one of the best wines I have ever purchased and brought for my house.
Wow. Hyperbole.
And it's reasonably affordable, too. It's Viña Diezmo. It is a Rioja from Spain.
Ooh.
It's a Spanish blend, a Rioja. It is the 2016 reserve, and that's important because this just became drinkable. If you bought this 2016 3 years ago and opened up, you're probably like, oh, no, it's not that good because you got to let it age. But anyway, it is ridiculously. It's so full body but smooth, and I think, depending on where your local store is, I think you could probably get it for like $22-24 a bottle. It's phenomenal. I'm telling you, this is the wine. If someone's like, I need a good house wine, like, what are those wines you guys are always talking about? This is the one. You want to go and find this, assuming it's readily available.
Nice. Jason, this will make you giggle. We went to a Christmas party earlier in the week, and my wife and her work associates, and one of her coworkers came up to me and she says, "Do you know wine?" I'm like, I know some wine. Why? She goes, "I bought this bottle. I want to know if it was any good." She goes, "I paid $40 for it." And I'm like, "Honey, what you paid for that wine is what I pay for 3 bottles of the stuff that I buy." So I said, "Yeah,
19 crimes. It didn't do the time."
Yeah, I said, "Yeah, it's probably a pretty good wine." And I looked at it, and it was gray.
I thought you were going to tell me it was Inferno.
No, it was gray. It was a cab. It was very, very good. No, Apothic's not that expensive.
I know. I thought that was going to be the joke. Like, she's all proud of herself. She paid like twice what she should have.
No. And the whole time her cleavage is dancing in front of me. So I was trying to keep her on the spot.
It's like the new Christmas.
Yeah.
What you drinking, Tony?
Well, from John Dewar and Sons Limited in Pertonshire, Scotland, it's Dewar's White Label blended Scotch whiskey, established 1846. Very popular whiskey, winner of over 500 gold medals.
It's a lot.
That's a tremendous number of medals.
Yeah.
Really is.
Well, I mean,
Jesus.
since 1846. I don't know how many years that is.
Oh, so it's not that impressive.
Yeah.
Well, it's
They
more
won
than
one
100.
a year.
It is more than 100. Very good. Maths.
It's not 11 o'clock maths.
No.
That's right.
It's true. 11 o'clock formulae. And Dap, what are you drinking?
Tonight, Advent calendar from the Bartesian 12 Days of Bartesian was Mistletoe Margarita,
Oh, there you go.
which is a nice little tequila-based drink with notes of pomegranate and the holiday baking spices are kicked in there. So it's really good.
What do you got to keep putting it back in the because you can't put an actual margarita glass under the Bartesian, right?
No, you can, but this is actually served in a low ball.
There you go.
And it's actually in one of my one of my fancy glasses.
So it's like a mini margarita.
I mean, the alcohol
diminutive. Tiny.
It's easier to handle this way. I'm not
sure.
Sitting here with a margarita glass.
Is there a Borg cube in there?
Yes.
Nice.
Because it's a NCC 1701D low ball glass.
You got to assimilate that drink.
Thanks to a very good friend, I have a whiskey decanter and 4 glasses, all as if they were hanging out hanging out in the captain's suite on the Enterprise.
Nice.
But now what I want to get though, I want to get something to put above the little cabinet, something like a 10 forward plaque or something.
Oh, nice.
Nice, yeah, nice.
I went to a Comic-Con with a guy that made like custom decanters, like you put like Yu-Gi-Oh on them or put your logo on. And I tried to get him to make a decanter with J. Jonah Jameson screaming "my decanter" on the decanter. But he did not. He didn't think that would be a popular seller.
The humor according to Tony Fleece.
Is that famous among Spider-Man heads like you guys? Remember when J. Jonah Jameson was furious about his decanter?
Yeah, that's going back a ways.
I think about it all the time. Anytime someone, really anytime anyone brings up a decanter, I think about it.
That's really we all have something like a pen.
Like a pen. There you go. All right, boys. Why'd we come here?
Because you got some books to talk about.
Yeah,
gotta discuss them comics, yo.
Gotta talk about some comics.
A lot of comics.
I know. Let's see what I want to do here. I don't want to get this out of the way, but one of the things I know Jason read this. I'm not sure about David and Tony. I didn't check the list, but Jason, we could talk about this super briefly if you want.
Okay.
But I read G.I. Joe 302. I was very eager to read this book.
So say we all, right?
Yeah, because the David, did you read it?
I did.
Nice. Because the developments in the first issue, full disclosure, I'm not a huge G.I. Joe aficionado. And I'm not sure if the book ever got this weird, but this this go around with the Joes seems a little weird to me. Like, there's a lot of comedic elements in it, and there's just an overall wackiness to the book that I don't know how this is going to land with the traditional Joe fans, which is why I want Jason to tell me what he thought of it. Because I'm reading it and I'm thinking, this is fucked up. This is just some weird shit. Like, I don't know how the traditionalists are going to...
I think... I think it was pretty deflating, I thought.
I felt it was slight. I didn't realize it was over real quick.
That's a great word for it, Dap. It just felt like, I mean, I'm all for Hama writing for the issue because, right, like that's the whole point. But like, this felt like reading like a Sunday comic like strip, and you're like, you get a couple panels and it's like, stay tuned. I think the comedic stuff too, Vince, I mean, as much as I'm a G.I. Joe fan, I haven't read massive chunks of G.I. Joe comic, so once it went to other publishers, so I don't know if the comedy's regular, but I mean, it's Hama writing all these issues, the same writer, right? So I assume that he's funny sometimes with it, but and then, to be fair, there were always some silliness. It was a children's cartoon. I mean, there were always some like corny, cheesy like lines and humor, but I also, if I'm being honest, I mean we sang the man's praises left, right, and center last month when 301 came out. I mean I think Mooneyham looks good here, but I don't think it looked nearly as crisp as the first issue.
Well, one demerit for the panel duplication.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like and again, I'm not trying to put the dude on blast, but last month I was banging the gavel saying he's, in my opinion, the best. He may already be the best G.I. Joe interior artist we've ever had, but and again, it's still good. But he set the bar with 301, and to me, 301 looks like him saying, "Oh my God, I'm gonna crush this. Like people aren't gonna be ready." And then 302 was, "I got to make a monthly deadline." So
I see what you're saying a little bit, but I think he had the raw material in the first issue to go all out. A lot of the scenes in the second one, I mean, are Arlington. What are you going to do with Arlington?
it's true.
Right? It's just tombstones. And then it was in the cabin with Scarlet and Snake Eyes. There wasn't a whole lot of visual real estate he could chew up. I think that was more the script than it was his doing. If I have questions though.
I may not have answers. I mean,
why is Snake Eyes speaking? What's up?
Yeah, I mean, I do remember that all happening, but I can't put, I don't.
So he talks now.
Yeah, but
I think he always could. It's just
no, right? I'm sure he always could. It was just like
that's
yeah.
the thing.
what is it, Arishikaje or whatever clan? But, yeah, I get it, but it just seemed like they're late, and I thought, okay, Scarlett's gonna narrate or dialogue this whole scene, and then I get to it, and it's like, yeah, he's talking, and she's like, not now. For now, we have the sex. No, I thought this issue was really good, though. I laughed. I really, really laughed out loud when Serpentor Khan's like, we're going to launch ourselves at Cobra. We're going to overtake them. And then this woman in a fucking jazzy raises her hand.
Yes.
This is Mr. Serpentor Khan, I have a question. He's like, go ahead, ask away. It's like this massive evil villain is rallying the troops, and a woman in a jazzy has to ask a question.
He said a jazzy. See, this is how you know we've been doing this for a while. He said jazzy.
Yeah, no, I thought it was fun. And to be totally honest, I liked this issue better than the first in terms of story. Like the first one was what I expected it to be. Go Joe, America, the planes and the tank and the hardware and the the mobilizing the group and showing what they can do. And this one was more accessible to someone who hasn't been reading G.I. Joe for as long as Jason and most other fans of the property.
I appreciated a little bit of the recap / origin of Wade, since it was supposed to be a big deal that he died in the previous issue. It's nice that following the funeral, somebody else on the team asked why they did that, and Stalker was there to let everybody know why. But yeah, I mean, it was an island full of smart zombies. The Cobra commander talking about why he skipped out, the origin, and then the cabin. It wasn't, and it wasn't like.
Well, don't forget the bat. The bat section was cool.
Yeah, sure. I always love a sketchbook, but it was from one scene to the next. Like we didn't. Once we went back to. Once Stalker talked, it's not like we went back to check out what Serpentor or how things are going in Springfield. It was beat by beat, and I just, after as action packed as the previous issue was, we got a little bit of a breather, but it just, like I said, we got to we got to that final page in the cabin when Snake wants to tell Scarlet something, and she's like, not right now, and that's the end of the issue. It was just, for them, but not for us. But it was
sex.
Just, yeah. Well, I don't know how frisky they're gonna get with the pup on the
Well, it is a wolf.
Whatever.
It's a wolf.
It is.
The pacing me was like they're taking a whole page to fold a flag, but I remembered what book this is.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely.
They take this stuff very seriously. They did that at my dad's funeral, they folded the flag and gave it to my
And
mom.
respect to Mooneyham, because he mentioned in the back matter in the previous issue that, he wasn't big on G.I. Joe, and I don't remember if he said anything about any family being in the military, but I mean, he did take the time to, if he didn't know, if he hasn't witnessed this firsthand, he obviously checked out some videos and on the proper procedure to do this. So, I respect and appreciate him taking the time to show off his wares in that regard. But it just it was over practically before it began. It felt to me.
Wow. So I guess I'm in the minority because I thought it was.
I mean, I'm coming back for next issue, but this one just wasn't as I'm not saying the momentum stalled, but it just wasn't. I guess that's on me. I kind of just wanted more out of it.
Yeah, it's wacky as hell, and I didn't expect.
I was going to say I'm with that. I mean, I'm going to get the next issue too. I just thought for me it was. I mean, you set it up, Vince, with your opening angle, which was what is like the average Joe fan going to think. I mean, I think from a commercial perspective, I don't see this increasing the Joe audience. I think not that it was necessarily designed to, right? I mean, it's 301 and 302, so it's by definition a lot of continuity built in, but someone that's maybe just curious because, Kirkman and Image and Skybound have it now, let me check it out. Like, I think if they just picked it up, unless they're of a certain age that they're used to like we were, where you just pick up a comic midstream and just try and figure out what's going on. Like, it's pretty steeped in inside baseball that you're like, I don't know what's happening here. So, but to be fair, that's not the upcoming books are about, right? Creating a new universe. So, like, the Energon universe stuff will be from jump. You'll learn about them from the beginning. So that'll be really theoretically the avenue for new readers, in as much as there will be some.
Yeah. Well, Dave got some of next week's books this week, and Duke #1 was among them. And while I couldn't buy it, he allowed me to look at it. So, well done. I think you'll be you'll
Tom
be
Riley.
Yeah.
I read it.
Oh, we got the preview. Yeah, I get it.
That preview in the back of Transformers looked great.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
Riley does a really nice job with it. The visuals looked great.
Oh, well, I guess we'll save that for when we talk about it.
No. I'm not. No. I'm saying, look, the visuals look great. I mean, the plot is the plot. I don't think there wasn't a lot of heavy lifting there. It's an origin story, so it's just
right. Well, I mean, I'm locked in already. So the Duke, Cobra Commander, the rest of the Joe stuff, like I'm not going to separate anytime soon, because that's a recipe for disaster. Because as soon as I'm not feeling a book, it automatically gets better. It's like they know I don't get it anymore, and then they all right, he's gone, ramp it up, let's get something going here.
Vince, I think the answer to your question is that this is not Snake Eyes. It's the new Snake Eyes.
What does that even mean?
Well, I'm reading here, and again, this is I didn't know this because I wasn't keeping up with the book, but the OG Snake Eyes is dead. He sacrificed himself. So his apprentice, who used to be known as Kamakura, in fact, I just got the classified figure of it a couple months ago, Sean Collins took on the mask, and he's Snake Eyes now.
Oh, okay. Because he was even talking at the cemetery. It's like, no, shut up.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see his face, obviously. There's obviously shadows, but yeah, he was talking there. And it's nice to know, I guess Scarlet's like Black Cat. I just want to see somebody in the uniform. I don't care who's wearing it.
Right, and again, like, I mean, I'm sure someone listening that's more up to date on, like, might have some fun information. It is kind of creepy that Scarlet's banging. Hey, do you, Scarlet? I mean, I don't go for yours. I don't know. Also, in the flash or in the cabin scene though, where they show her bang, like, they also like they have his face shrouded as well. Yeah. So this could be the OG Snake Eyes in his talks now, but there was a period in the IDW run where the original Snake Eyes died and Sean Collins became Snake Eyes. I don't know if that's. I could be wrong that's not what's happening right now though. So if anyone's more up to date on the Hama continuity, please let us know why Snake Eyes is speaking.
There you go. Well, at any rate, I felt it was well worth my $3.99. So that's all that matters, right?
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, what do we have? Should we swing it around to Fleece? Let's see what he was reading.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about something we can all talk about together. I read the Hellboy. I read so many comics today in anticipation of this. Usually what happens is I'm just working right up until the minute we record, and I'll like take an hour beforehand and cram whatever came out that week. But today I was just like, you know what? I'm caught up-ish. Let me sit here, and I grabbed a big stack of books, and I read like 10 comics and a graphic novel.
Love it.
Yeah, I really had a full day. So let's talk about the Hellboy. We could talk about that. A little Christmas comic action. Do we have more than one Christmas comic this episode?
We actually have more than one Hellboy comic this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes. Do you want me to set up the Hellboy Winter Special, which is called...
you do it. I do better at just commenting. I'm not really as good of a...
You're not a play-by-play guy. You're a color guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Dennis Miller. So it's called the Hellboy Winter Special. The Yule Cat is written and illustrated by Matt Smith. Written and illustrated by Matt Smith. That's cool.
Yeah.
Color art by Chris O'Halloran. We know him. We love him. And it's obviously a flashback because Hellboy's in it. So it's 1990, right? And Hellboy has a bad feeling. He's got an inkling that something is amiss in, of all places, Reykjavik, Iceland. And, could it be the fact that he once held Thor's hammer? Have anything to do with, this long distance intuition? Maybe.
Mayhap, yeah.
Mayhap. Anyway, his friend, Professor Laruson from the University of Iceland, jumps on the fact that Big Red is in town. And he kind of asks him to check out this rash of recent events. It may or may not involve what could be the work.
He's like, I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
It could be a giant cat, may not be a giant cat, but just be prepared. The thing is called Yolakatorin, and it's a mythological giant cat that would eat lazy children that didn't work hard enough to earn new clothes to wear on Christmas Eve. So it's heartwarming, right? Mm. And sure enough, Hellboy crosses paths with the giant cat and is whisked away to the interior of Iceland, where he quickly encounters the real horror behind the beast. We'll, maybe leave that. A flash from Hellboy's past, maybe the birds are not what they seem. And Kate gives Hellboy a Christmas present. And I'm kind of downplaying it because the real payoff is what happens when Hellboy's whisked away to this area. And I don't know. It's like this is the punch. So to reveal that would kind of take the wind out of this issue, I think. But now, Tony, what did you think of this?
I thought it was great. Matt Smith did a Monkey Brain thing that I read. So I've read his writing before. But I thought he did a great job of just sort of picking up. And I know he's been drawing Hellboy for a while, but I didn't know he'd written stuff too. Looks great. Reads great. I have been to Reykjavik, Iceland, and this fucking looks just like it.
Wow. You've been there?
Yeah. Great job on that. It's crazy. Like it's a big city for Iceland standards, but it looks like just like in Disneyland when they have like a city. It's just like maybe 30 buildings or something. I'm downplaying it a little bit, but it is real small town vibes in the middle of this, snowy countryside. Yeah, I went there. We saw the Northern Lights. It was great.
And you got it. Did you? I heard when you go to the to swim in the natural springs, though, they're like super strict about making sure you shower before and after. Did you experience that?
I did shower before and after. Yes,
well,
I swam in the natural springs.
Because my buddies, my buddy and his family went, and their son, like preteen son, didn't want to. He didn't want to do that because he was like kind of creeped out by it.
People. Yeah,
and they were like, wouldn't let him go in. They were like, no, like you have to shower first.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Were you going naked?
There are rules in Iceland.
You don't have to be naked, but you have to when you go into these natural springs in Iceland. I guess to keep it pure, you have to shower before you go in, even though you're in like a bathing suit, and then they make you shower after, almost like you're like decontaminating you.
Wow.
It's weird.
The real secret of Iceland, what I discovered, is seafood soup. Everybody's gets pretty similar everywhere you go, but everybody's got a different take on it. So I had a ton of seafood soup in Iceland. It's like a cream base, and then they'll have different seafood.
I'm out. I've never been to Iceland, though, but I always wanted to go.
Yeah. Ooh, let's for your 60th.
Yeah, 11 o'clock Iceland.
They have a museum of penises that I went to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
that
Jason will
little-
enjoy that.
Person's penis in a jar. They all kind
Yeah.
of penis.
Jason, it's your thing.
I guess they, by definition, were showers, not growers, or
They had all different kinds. They had little cherry tomatoes. They had everything.
cherry tomatoes.
Cherry tomato boys.
That is something no man ever wants to have his penis referred to as a cherry tomato. Jesus Christ!
I don't know. Cherry tomatoes are pretty damn delicious. Hey, you got to sacrifice something for.
Wow,
I'm
cherry tomato.
I think that was color. We got the color commentary in the cherry tomato.
Ridiculous.
I'll be totally honest. Here's my process. Whenever I read something for the show, I fire up the OneNote and I put the title and I put the creative team and I type it all out and then I, do a little bit of a synopsis. And for this issue, I'm like, okay, written by Mike Mignola, art by, and I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, this is pretty damn good. But typical for Mignola. And I just happened to glance back at the contents page and I'm like, holy shit, Mignola didn't write this. Which that's, if you can be seamless and as good as the guy that usually does it, that's a win. Yep.
Yeah, I concur. I mean, one of my favorite things about the Mignola verse or Hellboy verse, whatever you want to call it, is that you can absolutely, almost to a story, just read the story. And sure, it's clear there's history there. It's clear there's allusions, like you said, with the Thor's hammer, you get the little footnote. But it just stands on its own. And, I feel like no other universe does that so well with any size, right? Like, they do more one-shots than anything. And, those one-shots are just great little stories. And they're not complex, right? It's just a little quick, almost like fairy tale or allegory, and you're in and out. And it's just yeah, that's cool, man. I feel fully satisfied. I got my Hellboy on strong this week.
I myself am a lapsed Hellboy reader. I probably dropped off back in definitely while Mignola was still drawing it.
Wow.
It was probably the last Mignola, and I didn't jump over to when Duncan took over. But I always pick up the holiday specials because I love Hellboy and I love holiday specials. And the last ones, both of the last two I got were Adam Hughes, so that was an automatic no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was great too. They're all, like you said, you can just pick them up. I haven't read it in probably 15 years, but I can just jump in and know exactly what's up.
How much does it cost to have Adam Hughes illustrate an entire comic?
Well, I think he does one a year. So,
but I mean, from the publisher's point, how much is that? That's got to cost more than say,
more than me.
Yeah, well, not for long, but yeah.
I think. He probably charges an okay rate, he has relationships with these people, and then the real money he's going to make is on the back end, because Mignola does pay a good back end to the people that work on Hellboy books, and then on the original art too. So he probably does pretty good on the page rate, better than most people, and then there's more money on the back.
When are we going to see the Fleece?
Those pages would be
Hellboy?
$10,000 a piece at least.
Yeah.
I want to see some Fleece Hellboy.
I do not. I don't need that kind of pressure. I'll be over here making up my own Hellboys.
Okay. Be that way.
I like it. He's like, fuck that.
Yeah, he's like DWJ.
I got my own IP over here, son. I got my own universe.
Nah, not doing that.
My own cats.
But Jason had a good segue in saying that Hellboy, as of late, usually appears in these very tasty, easily digestible chunks. And that is a good way to explain Giant Robot Hellboy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Written by Mignola, illustrated by the great, I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say great, Duncan Fedrego.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And this, fantastic. Hasn't lost a step either.
I have always just found so much to appreciate in Fedrego's art.
Agreed.
A very unique voice. Looks like a classically trained illustrator.
On that. Why do you say that?
Because he has a line that is very accurate, but not restrictive. He knows where all the pieces are. It looks like he has a lot of figure drawing under his belt, like live model figure drawing. he's you could just tell by the way he draws the human anatomy that he knows what happens when people move and turn and stretch and bend. He knows how to work clothing very well. He's great with as we saw in this, giant monsters, atmospheres, locations, flora, fauna, the whole thing. Like it just he has a Maxfield Parrish kind of approach where everything looks like it should look, but it's not rendered to the point of he doesn't suck the life out of the line. There's a pulse and a heartbeat to it, but it's dead on. Like it's right. He gets everything right.
I always sort of think of him as like a more realistic Jack Davis.
I see Davis in his line, yeah.
Because my first, like, he did Vertigo stuff before this, but the first time I saw him was when he did that Jay and Silent Bob miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember that, like, the characters were incredibly well rendered, and, like, the anatomy was all perfect, but they were also, like, stretchy, and then, like, had, like, comedic takes and reactions and stuff like that. And he still does that sort of stuff. Like, his fingers are always doing sort of, like, cartoony, fun stuff, you know? Like,
yep.
You see him when he draws people; they're always just sort of like having some sort of reaction. They're not just standing there.
I think that's a really smart point that you just made. I think Fedrego, were he born a lot of years prior to his original birth date, would have worked very well within the usual gang of idiots. I think there's Druckerisms in his work. You know, a lot of Jack Davis, and if you can hold your own shoulder to shoulder with those guys, man, you have chops. But we were saying another contemporary artist in whose work I see a lot of Jack Davis is oh my God, I'm old. I'm old because I can't instantly remember his name. Urban Barbarian. Panosian. Yeah, Dan Panosian.
Yeah, worships at the altar. Yeah.
And I swear I'm like touched in the head because it was there as I brought it up. I'm like, I'm gonna talk about Dan, and then it just went away. Like, what's happening? But anyway, yeah, Panosian has a lot of Jack Davis in his work, and to his credit, like how many people can successfully pull off a unique visual voice, but make experienced audiences think, wow, this has got a lot of Jack Davis in it. Like, how do you do that? You're good. You're just good.
Yeah, you're damn good.
You're just damn good. So what is Giant Robot Hellboy about? This is, again, like cheapgraphicnovels.com. It's right there in the title, Giant Robot Hellboy.
Exactly.
Hellboy's set up, and he's drugged. And he's spirited away.
What kind of serious amount of trank do you need to knock out Hellboy?
Not only the trank, but the dart has to be pretty damn resilient too. Like, so he's drugged and he's taken to this installation somewhere in London. And this is a 60s story, so it's like 1967.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, and hooked up to all these wacky gizmos. He's got this weird helmet strapped to his head, and his consciousness is patched into a giant robot, hilariously fashioned to his unique physicality. And the robot is on an island off the coast of Africa. So they're somehow beaming. This is 1967. They're somehow beaming his brainwaves to Africa from London. Like, okay. And, they fire up the robot, patch him in, and giant robot Hellboy puts up a pathetic defense against a giant Komodo dragon looking monster. And
it's Godzilla. I mean,
not really.
It's unnamed Godzilla.
Yeah, and so meanwhile, there are issues with the transference, like in Pacific Rim. It doesn't always go smoothly.
Right.
So there's this mysterious agent named GN, and she's infiltrating this bunker on the same island. So there's stuff going on above with Hellboy fighting this giant monster thing. Giant robot Hellboy, because it's not really Hellboy, but it is. And she's below in this bunker, and the place is just littered with dead people and giant spiders, and she's looking for a vault, but the vault turns out to be empty. So the science squad up topside, they're figuring out the problem, and Hellboy's consciousness is getting more acclimated to the robot, so he doesn't suck as much. And the science team literally gives Hellboy a helping hand against the monster, and they augment the robot from London, and they give him finger guns and chest missiles and a Fist of Doom flamethrower, and it's awesome. It is amazing. And he just all out giant monster action, right? And Hellboy barbecues that initial monster, but he's soon triple teamed by a giant mantis, centipede looking multi-appendage sea serpent, and a massive octopus. They're all throwing down, and there's like, it's neat because it's rampant action like all over the place, but there's stuff going on beneath the surface, literally, in the fact that there was something supposed to be in the vault. It's enceladite. And I remembered the word, but I had to do a little bit of research, and it popped up in BPRD 1948.
There you go.
So if you're been reading this stuff for a while, there are little nuggets in here that's like, oh yeah, remember that thing that makes monsters and can rip a hole in space? Well, that's the stuff they're looking for here, because obviously shit's going on this island. Like, where does a giant praying mantis come from? It just doesn't appear. We're talking massive praying mantis. So Hellboy's beating the crap out of these monsters, and GN has, which means ghost, by the way, translates to ghost. She's got agenda of her own, right? She steals some documents on the sly, gets attacked by a really giant spider. Giant robot Hellboy loses an arm and wigs out back in London. But again, there's ties to even the Hellboy Winter Special in this, because so Hellboy's separated from the robot. His consciousness is separated from the robot, but the robot continues to beat the crap out of these monsters. And there are flashes of entities that have appeared in the Hellboy mythology previously. I'm not going to say who or what they are, but just read this to find out. So there's something going on. There's always a ghost of the past in a Hellboy story. You can't get away from it, right? In the Winter Special, there are whispers of Hellboy being somehow linked to Thor's hammer. And in this, there's a driving force behind the robot that's not Hellboy, but could be someone from Hellboy's past. Like, where did they come from? Was Hellboy carrying them within himself the whole time? You got to read it. But it's only 3 issues. It's like, hit it, please them, and done. It's like the perfect radio single, right? It's a crowd pleaser. We're out of here in 3, and we've left you wanting more. And man, this issue is just, I really hope that they do. They probably won't. But if there was ever an opportunity to do a beautiful, slim line hardcover of like, this is the perfect thing. Because I think not only is the story a whole lot of fun, but for Grado's art, like, you should preserve this shit in hardcover. Because, man, illustrators of the future are going to go back to this guy and be like, this dude had it going on. Like, it is just amazing. I'll be honest, the visuals are 80% of this book. Wouldn't you say?
I mean, well, in as much as it's a very simple story, sure, yeah. I mean, I guess that's fair. But I think there's a talent to Mignola that he continues to make these short, simple stories that you can, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's like, I know that I'm not going to say Mignola and Mark Miller are the same, but like, I think what they both do, at least in this kind of format, is they just tell a simple story. Like, it ain't that deep. Like, here's what's happening, and we're going to draw the fuck out of it, and you're going to have fun reading it. Like, that's it. Like, there's no layered nuance that you need to, like, decipher. And, I love books like that, but if they're well executed. But, I mean, I just think Mignola just sometimes, like, I got a 3-issue. Like, that's what's cool about it, right? Like, he does the one-shots. Like, he just sits down and thinks, here's the story I want to tell. how many issues do I need to tell it in? Like, there's no like,
right.
It has to be 6 issues, right? Or it has to be a 12-issue maxi series. Like, it's like he's just like, all right, this is going to be 3 issues. I need 3 issues to tell this.
That's great because
there's a confidence to, being Mike Mignola and having Hellboy and knowing that, like, I can do it in 3, I can do it in 6, but like the brevity and the breeziness of these things, I think, is sometimes part of the charm. Like
absolutely, yeah.
A lot of a lot of this giant stack of books I read today, some of them were so dense that you're just like, they make these every month. Like you can spread this out a little bit. I mean, I guess we're sort of like, on the one hand, there's like deconstructed or decompressed storytelling where people feel like they're not getting enough in an issue. But some of these ones, not Mike Mignola and we're going to talk about the Brubaker later, but I thought the Brubaker was like a masterclass in just like breezy, feels on the top breezy, but then has so many layers and such depth to it.
Yeah.
I think Mignola does a great job at that stuff.
I was going to call these 3 issues a delicious cheeseburger. But like not from McDonald's, like call this like a Five Guys burger, right? Mm-hmm. Because
right.
It's tastier than the usual fare. It's very satisfying.
It's cooked on real flames.
Yeah, and I mean, it's elevated above the norm, but it's just good, taste and feel good. Food/comics, right?
Yep.
And I think that's completely satisfying to me. Like I don't need you to remind me that. I don't need 5 pages on the inner workings of this base. Like I like that kind of stuff. I do not like decompressed storytelling because of the time I came up, where you got usually a complete, very detailed story in almost every issue, and then the direct market and trade paperbacks kind of put the kibosh on that, but. I like it when I can get a chunky story, and just like Edenwood is like that. Tony, have you read any Edenwood from
Tony Daniel?
Yeah.
I think I read the first one.
It's very dense, and he's just throwing ideas willy-nilly into this story. And I'm like, you're going to run out of gas. I hope you're prepared for the long haul, because you are expending a lot of energy in these first 2 issues, creative energy, on all these things you're introducing into this story. I'm sure he's prepared, but that's what we were used to back in the day. Like, what are we going to do with this issue? All right, I guess we'll go to this planet and introduce an entire culture and just the way these creatures live and work, and then plus the main characters have to factor into the mix, and the whole thing gets solved by the end of the issue, and it's completely satisfying. Yes, this was 3. I know it is a different time, so it is less than less size than the typical miniseries. But I just thought it was like, wow, this is completely enjoyable and on its own merits, without being connected to too much else, aside from the fact that there's a mystery going on as to what was driving the robot when Hellboy was unconscious. Other than that, I mean, wow, what more do you want? Master illustrator, great storytelling. It's not going to break the bank. It's $3.99 an issue, so it was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check this out. You convinced me on this. I might wait till the slimline hardcover, but I'm looking at pages of it online. It looks great.
Yeah, the covers are way too good for current comics. Fedrego's just like, hold my brush. I'll show you guys how to do it. Very, very good stuff. Yeah. What else?
Hellboy-O-Rama.
Well, definitely there is a Hellboy-O-Rama this time around. I was looking at the because I don't have the entire run of BPRD. I sold a bunch of it, and man, you can buy BPRD in a multitude of different formats.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought all the BPRD trades at a T-Fall sale. Remember back when T-Fall used to have those things? Yeah. I got all of it then, and then some Humble Bundle that I got all the Mignola stuff again, like in digital. So yeah, I have it, and then I mean, we've talked about this before. I have all the Hellboy library editions, and I've only read the first one. Sounds ridiculous.
But there are BPRD hardcovers.
Yeah.
And then there are BPRD trade paperback omnibus editions. Then back in the day, there were individual volumes. The digital, they're very smart. Richardson is very smart in giving you a variety of options from which to choose. You don't want to spend, big money on the library editions of the hardcovers. Here's an omnibus for $20-some, and you get 400 and some pages. Yeah, a win.
Well, that's kind of what the trick is with publishing, right? Is you have, you get a Hellboy, you get something like this that's valuable, and then it's just about how many different ways can you package it, how many different ways can you sell it.
Right.
I mean, and a very timely thing to talk about as the Fear Agent hardcovers, Phillips hardcovers came out, 25th or 20th anniversary hardcovers, and I'm thinking, I own Fear Agent in every way you can.
Yeah.
I own the issues. I own the trades. I own
how many different publishers even?
Yeah, exactly. I own the hardcovers that he put out, and I was telling myself, dude, there's no reason to buy these. You literally have this story in 3 different ways already. You do not need these. But then I'm sitting there I know they're going to be lit though.
I was looking at those the new Invincible trades they put out, just so beautifully designed. And I know that when I was talking to Max about it, when the first season of Invincible came on, those omnibuses, the trade paperback omnibuses were selling like fucking crazy.
Oh, nice.
So they just
released those compendiums too, which is a really cheap way to buy it. If you want to read it, which is great.
Yeah, the ones that have 50 issues in them, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are selling like crazy. And then, but now season 2 comes out and they have a new format you can buy it in for people that jump on season 2. Smart.
Well, that's good, because I'm glad Kirkman doesn't have to sell pencils.
I was going to say, I was making the same joke, with the Walking Dead colored issues. It's I don't even want to read it in color. I think so much of the charm is that, but these color issues, it's literally he's just selling it a new comic over again. It's selling many, many thousands of people are buying it, which probably a whole new audience is buying it and reading it now because it's color.
Well, the takeaway for me is that David Finch never stopped because he's doing the covers, right? Aren't the covers by Finch?
The Walking Dead,
yeah.
They move around. They have chunks where they'll somebody will do them for 10 issues or whatever.
Oh, okay. It's remember me, boys? Look at this, and the covers are just great.
Yeah. And then they do a recolor on the Adlard or the Tony Moore covers too.
Right. Yeah, they do.
Crazy.
Just repackaging, just taking your stuff and repackaging it.
Yeah. That's I guess that's the name of the game.
Yeah, man. I mean, so few people read comics, on a weekly Wednesday situation like we do. It's about capturing all these other people, the whole rest of the world.
So here's my problem, or dilemma, I guess I should say. So I've become acclimated to the Wednesday comic trip, and come home with a decent stack every week, 10, 11 books, right? And then months later, I'll look at the solicit for whatever, and I'm like, what? I can get the entire trade paperback of something I paid $7.99 an issue for $15? How stupid?
What are you paying $7.99 for?
Arcade Kings. That was the one from Image, the Arcade Kings. And I enjoyed the book, but it was $7.99 prestige format. And I thought it was worth the money per issue. But then I'm looking at the trade paperback. And I'm like, after discount, I could have got it for what I paid for 2 issues and change. So why did I buy those singles? What was the benefit for me? And I'm doing that increasingly, but I'm very reluctant to abandon the single issue because of the fact that I get to go somewhere once a week and hang around with people. The very few people on this planet I enjoy being around. So it's but I think you're paying for the gas that drives the boat, right? And all these trade paperback writers are just, hanging on the side of the dock looking at the scenery. That's what it is. But that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, you're a part of a dying breed. Plenty of people are willing to just wait for the trade nowadays. I feel like single issue sales, especially, lately, have been dipping lower and lower. And so it is like a ton of people. The trades do fine. They don't do. It's not like the golden days. It's not
Right.
like the COVID times, but the trades do good. But yeah, people are just sort of dipping on single issues because they do realize, like, I can get this for the same price or less if I wait 6 months.
Right. Well, it's like Jason, like the hype beast, right? So
The hype beast.
when
Jesus.
how can you wait for the trade when you got books like Transformers and this G.I. Joe stuff and the whole Energon universe? Like, who can wait for the trade on that?
You want to be part of the conversation.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
we cheat though, because we get.
I was going to say, I don't wait because I get to read it for free.
And then, so then we read them as they come out, and then we're like, okay, now I want the nice collection on my shelf. But
Yeah,
yes, the normal people,
Right.
the regular folks, the fans, yeah. I mean, we've had this conversation so many times. It's not up to us to save the industry. You buy the format you want to read, but yeah, I mean, publishers aren't doing themselves any favors by the price of singles, and then writing so that it's made to be read in that format when it's finally collected. So it's they really need to do something to get people to want to buy the singles. At least with Ed and Sean, they have the back matter in the back of things like Criminal, and that made you want to buy those issues. And then, yeah, I mean, the collections are nice. They look cool on your shelf, but you got something extra. You got that instant gratification for buying it that Wednesday when it comes out. And yes, like Tony said, now you're not spoiled. Hopefully you're not one of those assholes who spoil shit as soon as you read something, but you can actually have conversations with other people who read it that week as well.
But then you got guys like Wes Craig, who's doing stuff with Kaya that rewards the single issue buyers, because there are backup stories in Kaya that aren't going to be reprinted in the trade paperbacks.
The same thing with Savage Dragon. Eric goes all deep on the letters pages. You're not going to get those in the collection.
Yeah, and he used to not reprint the stuff from like Savage Dragon Funnies and all that in the back, but I believe he is now. But the only thing you can't get in the trades are the letters pages and stuff.
Local Man next week is different in the single issue than it is in the trade. We're doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Explain.
We're doing a thing with the flip that only works in the flip, and we don't flip
badass
trade.
Good for you, Tony.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It was awesome. I forgot to. I will probably have copies of it right now myself, but Image changed their like operating system, where comps used to just be like automatically sent to my house, and now I have to every month go and type my address into a spreadsheet.
You know why they do that? Because some months you're going to forget. Yeah.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, well, I mean, but it doesn't save. It's not like it saves anybody any money. Like, I pay for the comps no matter what. We talked about this before. But yeah, they have. There's a new system for like doing your solicits and your comps. And so,
I hate to break it to you, but by definition, a comp should be free. So
right. It's in the name. Short for complimentary.
Yeah, when you own it, it's like Mike Mignola getting Hellboy comps. Like it's just his anyway.
Yeah. Oh, see, that's pretty meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't send me a bill for them. It's just I pay for them.
So like when Silvestri gets his Stray Dogs, it's a legit comp. But for
that
you,
is true.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like the old days where if you worked at, because I mean, we've known a bunch of artists that would say like, yeah, I got my box of comps from Marvel and I picked the stuff I wanted to read and the other ones I bring down to the Catholic Youth Organization. So it's not like those days when someone working for the company would get a box of all of their output for a month. Like that's not I
think a lot of that stuff has moved to digital. I have friends who are movie people and who had like Warner Brothers deals, and they would get DC comps more than like people that work at DC that I know. So I'm not sure. I feel like maybe that's part of negotiations, or maybe they just like to kiss famous people's asses.
Right. Well, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Served us well.
Yeah. Right. It's been all right.
What else do we have, gentlemen?
Vince, did you see the news that Spider-Man 2099 co-creator Peter David returns, and the book next year is called Symbiote Spider-Man 2099?
I did see that, and you know what? I thought, wait a minute. I usually take pills for this. Yeah, I did. There's gonna be a Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 5-issue series coming up. That's, I think, the bridge between this and the symbiote thing. Yeah. Yes. Shut up, dude.
'24 is the year of it. I fucking love it.
No, it's. Awesome. I feel. Words cannot express how
just coming home to the House of Ideas.
Enjoying a Marvel comic feels.
I know.
Yeah. I don't feel that way with Superior, unfortunately.
No.
And Spider.
Yeah,
it's not. And then like Spider, like I don't care. I don't care about the gang war. Destroy all of yourselves. Like, doesn't matter to me. But if I have a little corner of that universe to play around in, I'm happy.
You're not going to give two craps about it, and you'll sign whenever I bring it up next year. But I am looking forward to the new Ghost Spider series, because now Gwen is actually trapped in quotes on the 616. I guess she can't go back to her at 65. But
I wouldn't side.
I know, but you're not going to be interested. But it's still
pretty much do side. Though, like
I don't.
Morales, you're like,
no, like if he said something like,
you'll hear the clicks, you'll hear some tapping on the keyboard.
No, it depends on the target. Like I'm not a huge Gwen fan. I just think she muddies the waters a little bit on what actually makes Peter Parker special. But whatever. She's a moneymaker, so I can just shut up and go back to the cheap seats. Like that's the end of the game.
Obviously, symbiotes are a moneymaker as well.
I don't know if they make as much as Gwen, but
make as much. But I mean, the amount of books out there. I mean, so it doesn't matter even if Gwen's got one book and is making some decent coin. Marvel's just like everything's a symbiote, so they're just shotgun.
Yeah, it was a little stupid to. I know we've mentioned it before, but like when everyone has a symbiote, symbiotes aren't special anymore. Like, why does Natasha need a symbiote? It makes no damn sense to me. It's just silly. It's silly and redundant and cookie cutter. Like, I don't want to see it. So
doesn't Natasha's symbiote have a cool name though?
Widow.
That's cool.
It's the same name. But if you put a very
I'm easy.
If you put a very sculpted woman in a symbiote, okay, I understand the attraction. I get it. But in terms of like feeding my intellectual needs for these books, it doesn't do anything for me.
I think Fleecs is what we call a sure thing when it comes. He's like, I like that. Man.
Easy like Sunday morning.
That's right.
Who doesn't care what happens to Flash Thompson? I do. I've known Flash for most of my life. Right? I care what happens to. I am.
Until he became Venom, the one thing I remembered the most about Flash Thompson, that one issue of What If where it was Flash, I think Betty, and the three other people who got bit by the spider. And I always think about Flash's outfit because he had it was almost like the Captain Marvel mask where it was just you got to see his red hair, but it still had the webs and I really like that. I like when that's one of the big appeals for me for the alternate universe stories is to see the tweaks to someone's outfit and just how because I like the design aspect of certain looks and when they switch things up, like quietly redoing the X-Men outfits and you got Cyclops with this little Geordie LaForge visor and everybody's wearing the leather one. It's neat, but so getting back to it, it wasn't that he was a bully. It wasn't that he picked on Peter. It was a random story from a What If issue. That's what I always thought about when I thought about the few times I ever would think about Flash Thompson. That was it. And then he becomes Venom, and he becomes a lot more popular years later. Yeah. But It's
I think they got to be. They need to be very judicious, very very cunning when it comes to the multiverse, because Marv Wolfman, co-creator of the Teen Titans, will tell you.
Is that the intro?
That he was paid a good amount of money to rectify those situations.
Yes.
Right? I mean, DC was loaded with alternate characters, alternate Earth characters or alternate universe characters. And they're just like, wait a minute, this is cumbersome. There's just too much.
And it's not like, and it was doubly their fault because it's not like they just have different universes with the same characters. They just went and bought characters from other publishers. They bought the Archie stuff. They bought the Charlton stuff.
Right.
And it's like, so now you've just got all these extra characters. Like you couldn't just live with your own characters and just have them on different universes. Now you got to fold in Fawcett and God knows who else. And it's just, and yes, it got ridiculous.
Worst decision ever. Captain Marvel, Shazam does not belong in the DC universe.
No, it does not.
Nope.
And they haven't done anything with them. I mean, they've tried. Obviously, I mean, they every couple of years someone has their Shazam story, but it never lasts.
You just let Ordway handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just let him do what he wants to do. Yeah. 2 fantastic blockbuster movies.
Oh yes.
Garbage. Shazam is not Power Rangers, guys. What are you doing? All right. Let's talk books. Come on. There's plenty of stuff out there to talk about. Tony, what else do you have?
I mean, I announced a book this week. It was crazy. We're going to talk about it like at the very end. I feel like we should start promoting.
We don't have to?
No, I'm trying
to. Hey, you got to put the work in. Do it.
We'll get in the middle, but before we do that, if we're in the promoting period of the show,
let's promote.
A couple things. Number one.
Yes.
EOC logo 2024.
Here we go.
To be precise, it's not a logo. We already have one of those.
Album art.
My apologies.
No, you're good. You're good.
I mean, you break it down for me, Vince. We need the submissions.
Right. To those uninitiated to what the album art is, I'm sure you know, but just in case, every episode is branded with an image to let the listener immediately realize what they're listening to, as if the words or the audio wasn't enough. Do you look at your iPod or whatever the hell you're looking at, your car dashboard or something, and you see this image come up? It's proportionate to a square, right? So what we need from you creative people out there, is an instantly identifiable 11 o'clock comics image that we can slap on each and every episode in 2024. So that's not hard to do. I mean, you could do whimsical, you could do serious, you can do avant-garde. We don't care as long as it's cool. And what happens is we collate all of the submissions and we let our Patreon people vote on it. And they'll pick one or two, and we, the three of us, maybe even Tony this year, will deliberate as to which is the best. And they win. They win the grand prize. You get to come on an episode with us, should you choose to do so. But, I mean, the real gravy here is you create the art that represents 11 o'clock comics in 2024. Sometimes we make product with it, hats and T-shirts. Sure. We've been lax about that in the past. It seems the 11 o'clock comics logo is the one that sells the most, so we just run with that. But there are other things we've done, but that's still up in the air. And if you are the winner, you can decide whether or not we can do that, and under what conditions. But whatever. Proportionate to a square, which means you can do 4x4, 8x8, 12x12. I don't care. Just make sure it's 300 DPI resolution, RGB color space. That's it. It's all you need. Those are the two restrictions: RGB, 300 DPI. Anything else you want to do is up to you. You want to recreate the logo? You think the one we have sucks? Go for it. You want to do a nice little pastiche with a character that kind of sort of looks like Spider-Man, but it's not? Remember, that's important. You can't use any characters that are owned by someone other than yourself. You want to make something up? A three-headed beast that resembles Jason, David, and myself with Tony's head bobbing close to the crotch area, you can do that. I mean, it's right there. Oh, I'm so funny.
I want to be bobbing right on the crotch.
And submit it to the email address David will tell to you right now.
info@11o'clockcomics.com.
There you go. Just create something. You people are damn creative. We have a long list of luminaries who have been the album art winners in the past. They're all just super talented people.
Matthew Allison.
Yeah. Daniel White, John Amore,
Jonathan Gordon,
Zerzo G. Panalta,
Kyle Lefevre.
Yeah, just tons and tons. Tony, Trish, yes. I almost forgot Tony. Holy shit.
iPod. My phone just still has mine on there. I don't know how.
It's weird. It's
because
freaking Apple. Yeah,
it's just because Spotify's fine. Everybody else is fine. It pulls it from Libsyn for whatever reason. Apple, I have to jump through so many hoops. So I'm hoping that once we pick the one for 2024, I can work on getting it on iTunes a lot.
I mean,
no rush.
It's not a bad thing to have
no, it isn't. I love
Trish and Tony and
art. Yeah,
right. But the only thing that bothers me is it says 2022.
Right.
So people who fire up an episode on blind look like these guys don't even update their friggin' art. Like, what is this? Yeah. So there you go. Please submit because we want to see what you got. Put everybody else to shame. Chris Mooneyham's going to do one.
Oh,
What else do we have to promote, Jason?
We also have to ask for folks to submit to our 11 O'Clockers, which is the year-end celebration of all things that happened in comics. We usually do the episode in mid to late January. Ballots have been open for some time. You can go to 11o'clockcomics.com, and there's a tab for the O'Clockers on the top left. And submit. It is a Google form. I know some people get a little wigged by that because we're in an era of you never know when you click on a link, but it's legit. It's a Google form with I think just shy of 30 categories. You don't have to vote for all 30. That's another question we get a lot. You can vote for whatever you feel like voting for. If you haven't read manga this year and you don't have a vote, that's fine. If you haven't read a horror comic, that's fine. Just vote for what you're comfortable voting for. And we will, on the live recording of the episode, where we'll read out both our own choices for our favorites of the year and the audience's picks, but we will pick one of your lovely names if you submit a ballot, and we will, depending on how many overall ballots we get, you will win a prize somewhere between $50 and $200 for cheap graphic novels. So, so got nothing to lose, right?
Jason, have you started aggregating your best of the year list?
Yes, because the last few years I have published that as one of the Advent days. So, and it is the 21st as we record this. So, yes, I think if plans go accordingly, I will post that on Saturday.
Nice. I disagree with Vince. I think that
Thank you.
Is very helpful.
That's why I love you.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful creature, Jason.
Well, I like looking at all those lists, but then just knowing that I have a friend that's just going to cut all the crap out and just put do the math on it. I like that. Although I do also like sometimes if I trust somebody, I'll check out their lists.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's talk about me. Quit this nonsense.
Time to promote you, dog.
Listen, you all know me. I'm uncomfortable doing this, but I have Trish and Tone and the whole gang from Stray Dogs and I have announced a new series that is our follow-up to Stray Dogs. It's called Feral. It's about cats. Image said that the best way to describe it would be to tell people it's like the Aristocats meets The Walking Dead.
Totally, dude. I was thinking the exact same thing. So there you go.
Which I'm totally on board for. If it could be as successful as the Aristocats or even The Walking Dead, that would be fine by me. Even a fraction of that would be just fine. So yeah, it's a story we've been working on it for more than a year now. It's the whole same team that made Stray Dogs, but we've sort of moved some of the positions around a little bit. On Stray Dogs, my buddy Tone Rodriguez did what we credited him as was layouts, but it was more like he was drawing backgrounds. And so on this one, we just sort of moved him into just drawing. He just does full background. So the way that Stray Dogs looked like an animated thing, this book will look even more like an animated thing because it has like these very detailed sort of like, but like with lots of blacks and lots of detail and rendering in the backgrounds, and then the characters in the foregrounds. Trish is drawing herself, and those ones are full on like Trish Forstner, Don Bluthie looking animagic. But it's a story about a bunch of cats that get trapped out in the woods. They're house cats, and they're stuck out in the middle of nowhere during a giant, sort of like never before seen rabies outbreak. And so it's the rules are just like zombies. If they get scratched, they get turned. If they get bit, they get turned. And so we get to sort of do like the Stray Dogs version of a zombie story. And that's it. We can move on. Let's talk about Criminal.
And wait! Don't undersell it.
Right?
We were fortunate enough to be given a look at the first 3 issues. Like, that's crazy that you have 3 issues in the can already, and the first issue didn't even come out yet.
And how long is it going to be? You didn't say.
Oh, it's ongoing. That's
Ongoing.
Okay.
That's the one of the real selling points for me as a creator, and also hopefully for readers. I know the retailers too are sort of like lament that there's not a ton of ongoing books out there that they can get people to come back for every month. Hopefully, we could be one of those. But yeah, it's like the same way I was talking about Hellboy, like being able to stretch out and tell a story and feel confident that put a beginning, middle, and end in every issue, but feel confident that you're going to get to come back and have another swing at this and get to you don't have to cram every page. So yeah, it's ongoing every month. With a month off, we're gonna do like I don't like to say like Saga because that's sort of gotten perverted from what the original intent was. But you remember Saga when it first came out would do 5 issues and then put the trade out, then take a month, and then they'd come back, and that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, ongoing. But you've read the first 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not Vince.
I've read the first issue, and okay. I said to the boys, I said, I already like this more than Stray Dogs.
Yes, you did.
I think, and I told you specifically, Tony, that I think Trish has leveled up, not because there was a deficit or a shortcoming anywhere, but I mean, I think she got even better.
Well, she's been, not to belittle what she does, but I always tell people Stray Dogs was her first comic. Stray Dogs #1 was the first full comic issue she drew. And so since then she's done, she did 7 issues of Stray Dogs. She did a bunch of My Little Pony issues, and she's been doing covers constantly. So you are looking at a more mature artist for sure. And we're taking advantage of that fully on this.
How the heck did you get so lucky?
It's a real rare situation because it was just me. I liked her work, and we both worked on My Little Pony, and I knew her from pony conventions. But I do think she's a 1 in a million shot. Like any other of those people that I might have gone to a pony convention and said, like, I like the way you draw cartoons. I don't think they would have had the same kind of dedication, the same kind of situation, the same kind of ambition. She's a total package. She draws great, and she's down to to hustle, which is not everybody is.
Yeah, and she's not an asshole.
She's very very pleasant to deal with.
She's very, and in person she's just wonderful, which I know is not crucial to the work, but it's a nice additive, right? It's a nice little thing where you think this person does good work, and they're not a salty asswipe. They're
well,
just...
it works nice for me too because we create these characters together, and I always describe her as like a nice lady. Like she's not a weirdo like you and me. Like she's not like a horror person, but I've sort of like dragged her into this horror space. So like we'll create these characters together, and then I'll just send her a script and it's just like, here's what we're gonna do to this one, and she always is just like, oh, like why? But she never fights with me about it, and she's always just like, like she can tell what a cool story is, or like what makes sense. But it is she's just great. I'm very pleased to have her, and Tone Rodriguez equally. Just a hustler and somebody that's been, you guys have all, I know Jason's gotten work by him, and you've seen him do comics for years and years.
Long time.
He's just a pro that you can just get down. And luckily, I've been able to have him come out here and just stay with me, and we work almost like comic book camp, where he'll just, we'll do a convention out here, and then he'll stick around for a couple weeks after. He just left a couple days ago. He was here for LA Comic Con. So we'll just sit there and make comics together, and sit there and draw.
So what are you going together? I mean, everybody loves a name to apply to things. What would you call the Stray Dogs Feral universe? Like the balloon term or terms.
I describe them as like petsploitation comics.
Love it.
Nice. That's great.
That's fucking great.
There's something wrong with you.
Look at you.
I feel like it's sort of like Stray Dogs definitely. I mean, there was Beast of Burden before. There was Black Sad, which is more like anthropomorphic. But I do feel like Stray Dogs sort of like kicked open a door where now there's, the Tom King animal book and the Pornsack animal book, and the Marvel does an animal book every year now, and and so I do feel like it's sort of like there's definitely many books that you can describe as petsploitation books. I think Beneath the Trees probably is one.
Yeah.
Even though it's also could be called anthropomorphic. Yeah.
I can only imagine Evan Dorkin seeing the success of Stray Dogs and
I don't
Feral.
like to think about it.
Yeah, really, it's like, please. If you ever get a box with milk and cheese on your doorstep, do not open it.
I love Evan Dorkin. I thought Beast of Burden was great. I had a different take on a similar vibe, but I definitely don't like. If he's anything like Milk or Cheese or his online persona, I don't want to.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Hey, Fleecs, come over here. I want to have a little talk with you. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Peace out.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Farrell, talk about it. Tell me what you read. Let's discuss. I'm happy to answer questions if you have any.
Nice.
Well, I mean, listen, as I'm reading it, I'm thinking this motherfucker, because I'm thinking, he hits it. He hits the oil well with Stray Dogs, and obviously there's got to be a tremendous amount of pressure for you and Trish and the team. They'll be like, what do we do next? And I'm like, I'm starting to read the first issue, and I'm like, this motherfucker, like,
yep,
he put cats in a Walking Dead story. Like, that's fucking, like, I'm like, people are gonna eat they're gonna eat this up. They're gonna eat it up.
Well, that's the long-running joke, right? That we've beat that horse a long time, where we said, like, Tony, what the fuck are you gonna do after Stray Dogs? Like, you're done. This is it. That's your thing. But you didn't surprise me. I don't want to speak for the other guys, but because I knew that somewhere along the line, the muse or that creative entity that just keeps funneling great ideas to you, like we like to represent it as this other thing, but it's really you. You've just become more comfortable as a writer, as a creative person, where now the ideas flow more smoothly than they did 20 years ago, right? But I said that was the thing. Like, what the fuck is Tony going to do? But it's like the first issue of Feral, Stray Dogs is great. I enjoy the hell out of it. But there's something about the cats in this situation, because like cats are smarter than dogs to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And we were
just talking about that today. Trish and I were texting back and forth because we haven't had cats and dogs talk to each other, and we were talking about, like, can they talk to each other? And Trish goes, well, yeah, but it's like when an adult talks to a kid.
And that's not derogatory. I think that's very true. Like, my cats will do things that the dogs would never even think of doing.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I'm working on the computer and the cat sees the mouse going around. She's looking at it and she tries to swipe at it. Like, the dog is totally oblivious to that kind of stuff.
That's definitely nice for being able to write the characters too, because we play these cats the same way we play the dogs and stray dogs. That they're real cats. You know, they never put on like a vest and have a pocket watch and stuff like that. Like they're cats, but they can do more than dogs can do. Like they can figure out how to open the door, or they can, they can figure stuff out, which has been a nice. I feel less locked into things, but. As far as coming up with an idea of like what to do next, it really did come from that was I had the same feeling you said, where it's just like, Jesus Christ, what do you do? You know, because I do think that like Stray Dogs is like a once in a lifetime like great idea that you have. From having my whole lifetime of ideas, I haven't had one that I think is like better lightning in a bottle than that. You know, where it's just like, oh fuck yeah, let's go. But I sort of took the idea of Stray Dogs and I was just like, all right, well, what's different? Like cats, here's what's different from cats than dogs. And I started with that. Like I knew we wanted to do a thing with cats. And then it was just like, what was Stray Dogs and what can we do differently? And what's like Stray Dogs is horror in this way. How can we do cats and horror in a different way? And so it's like Stray Dogs is a contained, like a bottle, like a locked room type mystery. So let's open it up. And what's scary now about the outside that's not scary about the inside. Stray Dogs has like this antagonist who's like an evil force who's ever present and is in one person. And so what if we make the thing that they're fighting against or that they're afraid of in this sort of like everywhere and not just one thing? It could be anything. And then also just, you know, like once the idea of rabies. And I sort of like I went back and I reread Cujo and I've read like a bunch of rabies books and I just started thinking about like what are all the things that go like that can happen with rabies and like how does it affect animals and then I just started thinking about like every zombie movie that I liked. I thought about The Walking Dead, but I also thought about like the Romero stuff and I thought about like the Italian stuff and I was just like fuck, that's cool if it's cats. And so then we just started putting it together, and then it's about, you know, building these characters and having the characters interact with each other and having them have flaws and having them have, you know, stories that are going on. And I don't know. I just sent the draft for issue 5 out to the team last night. And that's the end of the first arc, and I think we've got like a fucking cool first arc and like a cool jumping off point for where it goes after that. So
nice.
So, question: is this going to be like The Walking Dead, where, especially if it's an ongoing, where characters we come to know and love are going to just die at any moment?
Yeah, probably. I don't know
how many issues do we get before Lord bites the dust?
I love Lord, and there's characters, and we're introducing new characters all the time, and then we'll have new characters I love. So it's really just about how much does it hurt me to do it, and do I want to do it? But Lord, I think we can count on sticking around for a long time. Lord was one of the first characters that we came up with. It's basically there's these 3 main characters: Patch and Elsie and Lord Fluffy Britches. They just call Lord. And those are the 3 main cats, and everybody else is sort of like circles around them. But it's mainly told through the perspective of Elsie, who's this sort of like typical cat that does fine on her own, but she finds herself stuck in the situation with all these other characters, and it's about her like you know learning that she has to lean on other people. But Lord is sort of based on like that the character of the fuck up brother, which I think is great in like Scorsese movies, like in Mean Streets. I thought about a lot. Robert De Niro's character in Mean Streets, just like this goofball brother that everybody's just always telling Harvey Keitel like this guy's a real problem. I read a couple books that had that character, and I watched a bunch of movies that had that character. And I was just like, that's a cool character because you love them, but they're also just like, you know that they're a liability. And in like a zombie movie or a zombie story, like I like the idea of that character that like you love but is a liability. And so that's what the character Lord is. He's messed up, and we find out through the course of the story why he's messed up.
Nice. Yeah, it's like to me, it's like Kevin Costner in Silverado. For
yes.
You, right? Like, love him, but he's dumb, and you're like, oh, dude, you're gonna be the death of us all.
Yeah, for sure. And go ahead.
No, I just say, screw this Walking Dead stuff. I want to see at some point in the run the cats are holed up in an abandoned shopping mall.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yes, and I also need to see a rabies infused cat fight a shark.
like a Fulci?
Like in Fulci Zombie.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Well, here's the problem with rabies, that it makes you very afraid of water. So I don't think that one could
no.
necessarily
This research.
But there's definitely a shopping. It's not a shopping mall. It's going to be like a PetSmart.
Dude, I can't wait for the military to have plant a catnip trap.
Yeah.
What's this? What is this right here?
They start dropping cat toys, the explosive cat toys, in the middle of fields and stuff.
Not surprising, you were very clever, right? And one of the most jarring moments of that was when, cats. If anyone's ever had a cat, you do the pen light. Like, cats love to follow the light; they love the movement. And then you show the scene of how he's flashbacking to loving his owners, with the pen light, and then all of a sudden, the transition, and it's the sniper, it's the tracer
laser scopes, yeah.
Scopes, and you're like, oh, but to the cat, he'd be like, oh, cool, laser beam, cool. And it's like, nah, dude, they're about to shoot the shit out of you. So, yes. Now, have you conceptual, again, you hope this goes on for a long time. So, the premise is right that the humans have been warned that there's this crazy, I guess, some type of version of rabies, and so mammals are just going feral and homicidal. But I would posit that if this is the kind of thing where every mammal, or every at least four-legged mammal, as you put it in the book, gets this very quickly, I would think humanity would pretty much crumble. So,
right.
If the book goes on for a long time, are we gonna is it gonna become a post-apocalyptic world? Because in this moment, this is when the outbreak's happening, so it's a normal world, save for the fact that they're being chased by other feral animals, right? But not too long from here, if they manage to live, it's going to become a pretty abysmal world entirely. Yeah,
for sure. It is. That's one of the harder tricks to play, is because you're telling it all from the cat's POV. How much of what's happening do they notice? Where can we put them where they would see what exactly is happening to the rest of the world? And so, yeah, as the story starts out, we're at the beginning of this thing where it could take a while for it to get crazy in the rest of the world, but yeah, by the end of the first arc, you sort of get a taste of what everything else is looking like. It is a real trick, but we'll figure it out. We'll do it. It's starting small, and the ongoing nature of it, I'll be able to sort of tease it out for a little bit. But yeah, eventually it will be we get to show these cats get to a city and everybody's wearing full hazmat suits or whatever. What's life like in a rabies world?
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the Lori moment, when they get to one of the characters that we care about, and you're like, what the fuck, Tony? Why did you do that?
Oh, dude, get one of the cats pregnant. And has to fucking...
the feral beast is take the babies?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait for Tony's next book about what else he can do to break David's heart.
As I told you, the next book, I'll be back here doing this exact same pimping in 1 month when I've got another book coming out, and it is fully no animals are injured in the making of that book. So yeah, I'll be back.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
But this one I'm going to be making a bunch of noise about it. It's very, it's an interesting time for me because I've been working on Local Man, and we sort of did a ton to promote that when it was first coming out. But it's been, a year now of that book coming out, and so it's just basically is what it is. We do promotions and we do different stuff, but it sells what it sells. So now I'm at the point where I'm going to be out making a bunch of noise about this and making a bunch of noise about this other book that gets announced in a month. And then we'll see what it looks like. It's definitely different times than when we put Stray Dogs out. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you are. I mean, not that we're putting on the spot here, but obviously the last few weeks have been a lot of noise out there about the narrative of the industry, right? And like, I think we can generally accept that, like you said, the pandemic was a bubble for pretty much anything collectible. I mean, it's just, and now we can see that, and so needless to say, like, those who assumed that was like a new steady state are feeling the pain, right? And then those that probably had been around the block a few times and thought, no, this is a bubble, and we'll get back to some other level, and we'll be okay. But as you alluded, someone who's enjoyed, at least arguably your most commercial successful thing during that period. Like, what are your thoughts about like the industry and the health of it? Like, you've alluded a few times already that, single issues aren't what they used to be, but like, are you at like DEFCON 1? Are you like where how do you feel as a creator in this environment?
After FOC for Feral #1, I'll let you know what DEFCON is. Because there's a real chance that, like, I'm saying this is an ongoing, and this is, and we have real plans for this, but there's a real chance where it's just like, oh, fuck. Because, I mean, it's not, I do fine still, like I make a living, but it's a harder living. And I think the way that the economy is right now, like, it looks like numbers are ticking up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people have extra money for entertainment stuff still. Like, gas is still, even if it's lower, it's still expensive than it was a year ago. And
here's a stat for you in support of that. Since the student loan moratorium was lifted a month and a half ago, 60% of people whose moratorium turned off haven't made a payment yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look great. Like, it's not, and we had we had sort of like leveled out on Local Man, and then there was 1 month where there was just like a big drop, and we were just like, what the fuck is this? And it was like a 10% drop, and it was like, and Image was like, this is pretty normal to see this sort of thing around this part of a run. But then I talked to retailers about it, and they were like, well, we know a lot of shops that, things have gotten so tight that they've just gone back to only pre-orders for Image comics, or independent comics. Like, they'll get shelf copies for Marvel and DC stuff, but they'll just get hold file comics for people that orders, stuff like my books that are, don't have a movie or 30, 50 year publishing history. So it's, it's definitely interesting times. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm less worried about this one because it is, like Stray Dogs was sort of a phenomenon. I'm worried about it, but I'm not terrified. The one I'm launching next month is something completely new, and I'm more just that one is the one I'm just like, what the fuck's that going to be? So we'll see. Hopefully, I'm just hoping people will be sort of caught up in feral fever, and they'll just be like, whatever this guy's doing, we'll take two.
I thought you were going to announce next month Rhyme Hopper, the follow-up to Time Shopper.
Oh,
Jesus!
People have been begging every day. I get messages. They're like,
when you come to
him?
When
what happened next?
Oh, jeez. There you go.
That's how you know I've super made it, is because we do have 2 more Time Shopper like story ideas. And when I'm just like, when I'm Kirkman, when I'm just like, whatever, I'll put out my Brit
super dinosaur.
Yeah, my super dinosaur, exactly.
That book's fun.
It is.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Oh yeah.
And there's a compendium coming out.
Yes, that's why I said it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, more comics. Tony, before we move on, obviously we wish you the most luck, but I don't think you need it. I think this book's going to do really well.
I'll take it. I'll take any luck. Yeah. For the listeners, Feral, it's in the new previews or whatever they call it at Lunar. The new Lunar previews. Tell your shop you want it. Remind them that they made money off of Stray Dogs. and tell them that if they need anything from me, I'm only an email away. I'm happy to sign books for stores or anything like that. I'm happy to help these retailers.
Nice. Look at you. Such a
Look
good
at
guy.
that.
Yeah.
You playing the variant game? Any like super hot fire variant covers?
I hope so. We definitely are. We're sort of taking a page out of the James Tynan notebook where we're doing like the 1 in 10, 1 in 25, 1 in 50, 1 in 100 for the first issue. And then
which artists get to be in which category? Like who gets the 1 in 100 variant?
We're doing the 1 in 100, but for the first issue, it's A cover is a original cover, B cover is the Dawn of the Dead cover, and then the 1 in 10 I think is the Day of the Dead cover, and then the 1 in 100 is the Night of the Living Dead cover.
Oh, you're fucking killing me.
To get the full Romero trilogy, I can just give you one.
Oh.
Get the full Romero trilogy, you gotta get the whole set. But then every issue, I'm glad you. Thank you, Jason. You're good at promoting. Every issue also.
No lie.
We're doing this like Cat Lady covers where for issue 1 there's a Sweeney Boo cover that's like a Virgin variant. Issue 2 is Sophie Campbell. We're gonna have a Jenny Frizen. We got like a lot of cool lady artists doing cool cat covers.
Oh, that's a neat
awesome.
angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I mention the cover that you said to me on the text?
Yes.
You're going to do a May pastiche cover.
Oh yeah. I'm excited about that.
That's pretty awesome.
I love a May.
What was the name of the cat? Loopy? In that movie?
Oh, in May?
Yeah, wasn't the cat's name Loopy or something?
Yeah, that's the cat that ends up in the freezer.
Right. You should do a similar scene in the.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to do the cover, the poster. I feel like it's a little too esoteric to do the shot from the movie May where they find a frozen cat in the freezer. They're not really not moving units on that either.
No, well, you move one, but
just one.
Yeah, me.
I'll just draw you a sketch of that.
Look at you! You're so giving with your talent. Like, stop. All right, more comics. I have one. If we don't want to,
go ahead.
Oh, God.
You guys current on Incredible Hulk?
No,
but tell me why I should be.
Okay, I could say 2 words to you, and you'd be like, "Okay, I got to read this." But you'll know it when I get to it. So, Incredible Hulk, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson. Nick Klein is the artist. Good God. Matthew Wilson is on color. Now, I read 6 and 7, which makes me current on Incredible Hulk. So we went through the Brother Deep incident when we first talked about this book. Where the book is at now, Charlie's wanted for questioning in relation to the death of her father. There were 2 issues in between that were drawn by Travel Foreman where Philip Kennedy Johnson totally misuses the Man-Thing. Yes, and the less said about that, the better. But the short of it is, the nexus of all realities is in danger from the Eldest. Like, everything in this book is based on this entity called the Eldest, right? It stirs up this creature called the Swamp Witch that confronts its victims with beings from their past around which guilt is an emotion. Like, it tries to eat Charlie, and it shows her the image of her dead brother. Charlie was somehow made a bad decision or wasn't able to help her. There's a mysterious situation around Charlie's younger brother that led to his death that this Swamp Witch confronts her with. It was trying to eat her, but Hulk steps in and beats the shit out of the creature, blah, blah, blah. Betty Ross shows up in harpy form, who is an ambassador of the Eldest. Like I said, all roads lead back to the Eldest in this book. And Betty says to Bruce, look, or to the Hulk, look, here's the deal. The Eldest wants the Hulk. If you can give the Hulk to this entity, she will see fit to make new bodies for Bruce and myself, and we can go back to the way it used to be before we were cursed with this our other selves. And Hulk's like, fuck you. But in 6 and 7, Hulk and Charlie are very eager to keep out of the crosshairs of the law, so they head down to Texas, right? And they hook up with this group of migrant workers. And one of them is a little man named Leo. He's a boy, but he has a mysterious protector. His dead Uncle Sal, who once owned a vintage Harley from World War II, the bike fires to life when Leo's in danger. Uncle Sal is a Ghost Rider, which is really cool because he's got the whole, combat helmet on and the deal. In typical Marvel style, this Uncle Sal / Ghost Rider thinks the Hulk is the threat to little Leo. And Hulk and this Ghost Rider fight. It's a Marvel book, right? So the two, quote, heroes are going to throw down until they realize, uh-oh, I made a mistake. The real threat is revealed. There's this creature of the eldest called the War Devil. And it's a beast that kind of feeds on the trauma of those that have experienced armed conflict or war. There's a group of veterans that are used, their emotions are used to create this pack of horse riding, combat decked out beings that come to destroy the Ghost Rider and the Hulk. But it's a fun book. The Man-Thing kind of issues kind of soured me on Philip Kennedy Johnson because he just does not understand the Man-Thing. Like there's Hulk has a conversation with Ted Sallis. You don't go there. You don't go there with the Man-Thing. Ted Sallis is dead. It's not like a Swamp Thing type deal where there's maybe a shred of the entity that gave rise to the creature. No, there's nothing guiding the Man-Thing at all. Like, and I point the finger at Marvel because in a lot of the Thunderbolt stuff, like Man-Thing could actually make decisions and open doors and like to, hey, teleport us here. Like that's bullshit. The Man-Thing, that's not the Man-Thing. The Man-Thing is just this blank slate that responds to emotion. He's an empath. That's all the Man-Thing is. He doesn't make decisions. He just reacts based on the magnitude of emotions around him. And here Ted Sallis is talking to the Hulk, like, oh yeah, it's like, stop. This is totally wrong. And it wasn't Travel Foreman's greatest hour. Let's just say that. But here's where I want to go with this. When you're juxtaposed against Nick Klein, it's not going to be anybody's finest hour. Because what Nick Klein is doing on this book is ridiculous. It is absolutely one of the best depictions of the Hulk in a long, long, long time. Like, he is just tearing up the pages like a mother. Specifically, the transformation. Have you seen when Banner transforms into the Hulk? Have you seen what happens in this new book? Any of you?
No, I'm not reading it.
He shreds Banner's skin. Like
cool.
He literally rips Banner's, like Banner's face will distort and bulge, and he like rips the skin off it, and if he's pulling his arm out, like Banner's skin is just hanging his arm, and he just he takes off a Banner costume. It's unbelievable to the point where it's like that's a novel take on the Hulk. The storyline may not be all that novel. From where I'm sitting at the end of 7 issues, I think Philip Kennedy Johnson is trying to do an Al Ewing take where it's this long, protracted narrative like Immortal Hulk, where everything factors into the big picture. And if you're going to compete with Al Ewing's Immortal Hulk, I think you're going to fail. I'm just saying.
Well, they may also think that that's the way to go since the previous Hulk volume before this one.
I get it. And then even Peter David's run, like everything, there was a germ of an idea that David played out for multiples of issues, right? Many issues. So I get that's the way to go these days, I guess. But it just seems like this is a sort of in the same vein as Immortal, where it's a darker, more horror-based take on the Incredible Hulk. But the little things like the transformation that Nick Klein renders, oh my God, it is I could see Felix just looking at every issue that comes out and just loving it. Like you just hear the cash register ka-ching, because Klein works in double page spreads a lot. There are a lot of spreads in this book, and within a traditional.
We want you.
Like within a traditional brush and ink or pen and ink approach, there are painted panels, and I'm like, you cannot. It's like printing money. The visuals are so absolutely gorgeous on this book. It's ridiculous. It could compare favorably to the best of Hulk, like ever, and that's saying something. Like I didn't think that the visuals on Immortal, they were good, but if Nick Klein was on Immortal, that would be an evergreen title at Marvel. This stuff is just incredibly rendered. The creatures, there's like Banner it's an atypical take on Banner too, because he's like a transient. He's scraggy, unshaven. I mean, we've seen that look for Banner, but we've never seen, I don't think, in recent memory anyway, we've never seen the Hulk just shred Banner's skin and step out of like a Banner costume. That's bizarre. So if you like top shelf art, like world-class, amazing, dark superhero art, like you got to be reading Incredible Hulk, because when Nick Klein is on the book, it is second to none, man. His Ghost Rider's great. And again, there's double page spread where Ghost Rider's on the bike and he's, barreling into the Hulk. And I'm just like, wow, somebody's going to be very, very happy because they're going to buy that shit from Felix. And it's just, he's printing money, which is nice to see that people appreciate this level of craftsmanship. So yeah, it's a very good book. There have been some stumbles along the way, but as a longtime Hulk fan, it's just hitting me the right way.
You are warming Caleb's heart.
Yeah, no, I think it's again like with Immortal. The first issue or first couple issues of Immortal did nothing for me. In fact, I was like, oh, I'm not going to read this, but I persevered, right? And Immortal became one of the really, really good Hulk arcs. I don't think it was a balanced affair because I'm confident that the visuals didn't live up to the narrative or the intricacies of the work. I don't want to. Was Brett Booth, right? That did the Immortal, most of the Immortal run, right?
No, it was mostly Joe Bennett.
Joe Bennett, yes, sorry, Joe Bennett, whose work I like, but I got to be honest. Like you look at Nick Klein's work, it's like what? It's incomparable. It's just amazingly rendered. And I think that's where this book has the edge in that the storyline is okay. Like, there's this big shadowy creature and, he's going to send all these monsters against Hulk and she wants Hulk for some reason and she's been around forever. That's fun. But I think in this book, it's the inverse of the Immortal, where the visuals are the real selling point and the story's like, it's utilitarian. It's good enough to give Klein more stuff to draw. I don't think that's not a resounding, approval of this book. But this book is, if you're an art fan, just shut up and buy this book. You're coming
nice.
You're coming for the art. Yeah.
Hey, Dap, you know what we need? We need someone to come up with segment intro music so we can have a new segment for Vince's Marvel Minute.
My God.
It's a lot longer than a minute, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah,
Vince's Marvel monologue.
I'm just
Hold on,
done.
be real quiet. I'll sing it right now. You can just clip it and use it later. Ready? Ba-da-da-da-da. This is Marvel.
Well, you
We
can't
got-
laugh
we
in the
got
background
Jackson
if
and
he's
Vinny
going to.
Beats. We all got everybody
yeah.
can make
That's
some
true. That's true.
Yeah, get Jackson on those strings.
That's right. And
Well,
Vinny Beast can loop it.
Can loop it and produce
Before
it.
you sign, I can do all that shit. Before you sign off, Tony, I'm going to have you do that, and I'll use it whenever I'm totally serious.
Terrific.
What else do we have? Jackass.
We got to talk about this Brubaker and Phillips.
Yeah, let's do
All sucker.
Vince, did you read it? You didn't read it.
No, because it doesn't have it yet. Do you have it yet?
No, I don't have it. I have the digital, but I won't read it digitally. So I'm waiting for that. I don't care. I'm probably not going to remember what you say about it.
You're just thinking about what you would say next.
No offense. I probably, even if you do reveal pertinent plot points, I probably won't remember them.
Well, you're going to want it in paper because it's got map and papers, and I know you like that.
I do love maps.
It does,
Yeah. The map shows up 3 times in this book. They just hit you over the head. They're so happy with the map, and they have a cast of characters pages. A really great setup for a mystery. You see,
Love the cast of characters page. That's right up my alley.
Yep.
You see you see the people, and even just seeing the characters, just like even the way like he draws Tony Melville, the neglected wife. You're just like, oh, something's about to happen here. You know, you see all these characters. You see Mrs. Wilson.
My man had clearly been watching some Angela White porn before he decided to draw these.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this is definitely the most sexual Brubaker and Phillips book.
Yeah.
Phillips gets his fuck on in this.
Yeah, it's really peaky. And like you feel it, like it feels real.
You can smell it.
It's sweaty.
Comes right through the screen.
And I love how it's because when you see the cast first and then you read the story, and then after you read the story, you go back to the cast of characters, and when we see Palmer Sneed, when it says man with a badge,
Yeah.
that really only thinks of one thing, but obviously as the story plays out, he's just literally a man with a badge.
Yeah.
And it's hardworking psychiatrist. I don't know about that, but I mean,
Well, what's he working hard at?
exactly.
Yeah.
Framing the non-vet, but you have I did enjoy this, and even
Or in the last one?
then the last Reckless book.
No, the last the night eaters, the night dancers. What was it called? Hold on, I'll look at the back of this book.
Even Ed and Sean's, like, if they ever have an off day, it's still better than what a lot of other creators can do. That said, as much as I enjoyed Where the Body Was, I didn't love it, and I didn't. It's, and I don't know. I mean,
The night
I'm here for it.
Yeah, Night Fever.
Night Fever was fantastic. Night Fever
better?
I think, if I had to put them side by side, I haven't read Night Fever since it came out. I dug the mystery of it. I don't know if I appreciated the fourth wall or them talking to an interviewer or whoever, like talking to the reader and as if it was interviews. There was something I like how unique it was for a Brubaker and Phillips story. But considering we just had, we've got like 3 Reckless books. We had Night Fever. They're on an amazing run, starting with, Pulp and the hardcovers that they did for the criminal side stories, things like that, and how everything's all connected. And I love all of that. And I was like really looking forward to just this little standalone, neat little story. But there were, and I dug the story. I didn't love it. There was something that just either it didn't click with me, and I'm seeing and I've seen other people online talk about how it's pretty much like the best thing Ed and Sean have done this year, and how it blows previous works away, and I didn't see it, and again, I'll still recommend it. I'll still say, hey, if you absolutely this is something you should absolutely read, but
Worth time.
when I think about it's absolutely worth your time, no doubt about it, and it deserves to be in your library. And I'm glad it's coming, and it's going to be on the shelf with the rest of their stuff, and I'm happy to have it. It just and it didn't fall flat at all. It's still a cool story. It's not. I don't want to compare it to Reckless because we've already had so many books of that, and that's its own thing. But I just I want to hear from you guys because I know maybe I just missed something, but
So
I want to hear from somebody.
Dap hates it. Write that down.
That's it. Write it down.
Jason?
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think about the fourth wall stuff? Because I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, but I mean that because I think it's a great point though that David brings up because I think a fair question for any of these books is why isn't it just another criminal book, right? Like, there's got to be a reason why it's not theoretically a criminal book.
I thought that formal stuff was why, right?
Yeah, right. No, that's what I'm saying. So that's like it seems like the fourth wall, the approach to it, the tone of the book separates it, right?
He's deliberately trying to make it look different, so he's going to throw all this out there.
And if you read like the epilogue, right, like Brubaker talks about how Sean years ago had asked him to write a romance comic, and Brubaker ended up writing a crime comic and giving it to him.
Yeah.
And he said this time it was supposed to be a crime comic, and it turned into a romance comic. Now, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I read obviously the epilogue after reading the book, and I didn't close the book before reading that and think it was a romance comic. So like,
romance comics just means some extra sex.
It shows you where Brubaker's head is, where he thinks he's finally written a romance comic. I'm like, Brit. Okay. I hope. I mean, because I was like, I don't know about his marriage if that's what he thinks romance is. But anyway,
I mean, if that was a romance comic, then Too Young to Die Old is a love story
for sure. Yeah. But I get that it definitely feels a little different by design, and then it becomes, do you like the changes, the changes in tone, or don't you? Obviously, for you, it kind of took you a little bit out of sequence with, or out of sync. For me, it worked for me. I mean, and I can't think of a thing that they've done together I haven't really enjoyed. So, but if we are playing the comparison game, for me, to Tony's point, I much preferred this to Night Fever. Like, I thought this was different. It felt really to me like a Coen Brothers movie turned into a comic. And I'm a massive fan of the Coen Brothers, as I know Brubaker is. And it just felt like, okay, he's fucking around a little bit with the Coen. He wants that Coen Brothers vibe, like a little bit quirky, a little bit like a little bit left to center, like trying to keep you guessing. But ultimately, like, it's a fairly micro story. It's just, I mean, in this case, it's a story of people that live on a suburban block, and they interact with each other over the course of a few days, and lots of stuff happens somewhat coincident to one another, and some things linked. But yeah, I really liked it for that. Like, and it's almost like an amuse-bouche or something. It's like a little palate cleanser. You know, you're getting this, it's different, and then I presume we'll get back to some kind of big chunky thing, either more reckless or something like more criminal again. And it's going to be great, but it's going to be very serious, very like humanity sucks. Like, there's no good people. And I think they do that really well, obviously, but this was kind of just more like quirky, like these people just have this like random series of circumstances, some of which end up being very tragic for them, but like almost like they just kind of happened into it. Like, life is more random than we give it credit for. So I liked it a lot. And like we joked about, I mean, there's certainly been sex scenes in other Brubaker Phillips books, but there's a lot of fucking in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this stuff felt more real than any of the prior stuff. Like, if the other stuff felt like he was sort of like drawing a comic book sequence that had fucking, or like a movie sequence that had fucking. This just felt like fucking.
Yeah.
But for me, the formal stuff, the fourth wall breaking stuff, it felt like in Reckless when they cut forward into the future and they said, what's the girl's name in Reckless that we love?
Annie.
Yep. Yeah, when they reveal, spoilers, when they reveal that Annie dies at some point in the future and we don't know when or how, But that's like a sort of like he comes outside of the narrative of the book and tells you that. And they did that. I think it was like at the end of the second one, or maybe it was the first one, where they jumped to the future, where you see like, he's got a computer now and stuff like that. It felt like Brubaker was like, oh, I'd love to do more stuff with that type of storytelling. But in this one, he just uses it a lot more freely. Where like in Reckless, he sort of sprinkles it in here and there, and then here he just uses it almost like a lark, where he's just like, yeah, that guy was never a cop, or like that wasn't true at all. Like somebody from years later will pop in, almost like you're watching a documentary, and just go like, that's not how it happened. This is what happened. Or even like when we get to this. Crazily, when we get to the solution of the whole mystery of the book, they're just like, oh, what about that though? Like they step out of the narrative to be like, what about the solution to the mystery of the whole book? Cause through the course of the book, like I did feel like it was a romance, like because there were really sweet things, like with the junkie girl and her boyfriend that like longed for her, but like they sort of were like missing each other, like she there's this story about these two kids, and they're both like drug addicts, and the girl really liked this guy, but so she liked him so much that she didn't want him to just be a fling, so she just let herself like sow her wild oats. But from his perspective, he just sees her like fucking everyone else and not him. And so it is like this sort of like romantic, heartbreaking, like, oh, they would they would have found each other, and eventually they do find each other, but it is just sort of like he is playing a lot with sort of like playing on the heartstrings, playing on sort of like the dirty version of romance, but being able to jump out of the narrative and say like, later we got together, or that's not how it went down, or that's not how that actually happened. I thought
When can I tell my side of the story?
Yeah, exactly. Like an interesting use of narrative, and it reminded me of when we read It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. Just no adherence to regular traditional storytelling setup. Or he just sets up a set of rules for this story that's different from the other stories that he's told before, which I thought was fun. It was fun and confident in the same way that I thought like the Mignola stuff we were talking about earlier was confident, where it's just like, look, I'm going to do another one of these hardcovers in 3 months, so let me just do whatever the fuck I feel like and see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by this whole idea that this and Night Fever were both, by Brubaker's admission, projects that they did in part because Sean didn't want to be bored. He wanted to do something different. And you got to respect that, right? Because obviously we've talked a lot. I mean, this dude is while Brubaker could, if he wanted, write 5 other books with 5 other people each month, Sean's basically working with Ed nonstop, like full-time partners for 20 years now.
Yeah.
But I will say that I had to kind of laugh when I read that this was, again, a thing where, like, Sean wanted to do something different, because I'm like, bro, like, do something really different. Like, you're still telling human crime stories. Like, the difference is maybe that it's, like, different buildings and different clothing. Yeah. Like do something fucking crazy. Do like a sci-fi book, do like a horror book. Like do something like, that like really visually you have to draw completely different things. Right? Like that would be interesting.
Yeah, this could easily, like if you change the words in it, this could be a Reckless or
criminal. I mean, it's not as serious as Criminal a lot of times, but if you just labeled it criminal, people are like, oh, he kind of went a little funnier for this one, but like to me, all of this feels like it's in the same universe. And again, it's an amazing universe. Like it is, like never once have we come on and said all of you shouldn't go out and buy the Brubaker Phillips book or whatever it is. Like it's another good one to me. Like you absolutely buy it and enjoy it. But I'm just saying, like I would love for them to just blow us away and do like a comedy book or a fucking deep space fantasy book, like just something where they're just completely telling a different story. Like I would love that, just to see them just kind of just take us for a new spin. But
yeah, that's interesting. Like I wonder what those discussions are like, where Sean Phillips like, I want to do something different, and he's just like, well, what do you mean? He's just like, I want to draw like a different kind of neighborhood, or maybe we could have a young girl that wears a cape and a mask and rides roller skates around. Like that's enough whimsy for him that's all he needed.
Right, like with Night Fever, he just wanted to draw London, a place. He said he wanted to draw a place that he knew personally. Yeah. So he's like, all right, dude, we'll put it in London. And I'm like, all right, cool. And again, it was great. It was great. So like, it works. Like if they're happy, then keep doing it. But I want like just do something nutty. Just we're like, wait, what? Like Phillips is drawing velociraptors. Like what? Like
I guess the best thing would have been they did those criminal one shots, the Savage Sword and the Deadly Hands.
Oh yeah.
Of Criminal, and then I feel like there was a little bit of craziness in something. Well, Pulp had like cowboy stuff and Nazi stuff. But yeah. Before that, it goes all the way back to like Marvel Zombies, right?
Well, yeah, that's the craziest thing Phillips has ever drawn, I think.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't want to be that guy, but it's Anna.
Thank you.
Yeah, what do we say?
Oh no, you're right.
She's my girl.
Well, thank you.
This sounds good.
Don't want to be that guy.
Right. It's like, I'm not racist, but. Nice. It sounds good. I'm going to have to. I mean, I just got to get a physical copy of it.
You're going to dig it.
I just forgot to order it.
Inconceivable.
Yeah. I just forgot. Or glossed over it, or end of the story.
Oh, it may have been when Image wasn't in previews for the 2 months.
Could have been. Yep.
It's possible, yeah.
But I will get it. I mean, there's a spot on my bookshelf reserved for it. There we go.
Nice.
Do we have anything else before we bring this trailer back to the park?
I think a little IYT is in order.
Yeah, okay.
It's in your travels, Vince.
Thank you. I'm anagram challenged. In your tummy? In your tuchus? What? I don't know.
Tuchus.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for being here with us one more time around. We implore you to come back because it'll be more of the same. Next episode is the book of the month.
Yes, it is.
It's this month.
It is World Without End.
Whoop, whoop.
By John Higgins and Jamie Delano.
Yeah, crazy Jamie. So come back for that. In the meantime, we really hope you have a great Christmas. Make sure that you record the Hallmark movies so you can watch them all summer. Go to the comic shop, buy some comics, love them, talk about them. Come back here, tell us about them, Facebook, all the socials. In the meantime, or in your travels, right?
Sure.
You want to see an artist flex their creative muscles?
Yes.
Why?
Well, you should be reading / Back to School by Zoe Thorogood. Specifically, this is issue number 2. Zoe is like taking no prisoners on this book. Stylistically, there's a segment in this book where Cassie and the girls get sucked into a video game. It's called The Sad and Unfortunate Adventures of Frog Boy. They get sucked into the video game, and the visuals turn into 8-bit pixel art. It's crazy. On one page, she'll go from her normal style or her let's call it the base Zoe Thorogood style, and she'll in one panel, and the next panel it's a manga style, exaggerated, like the twinkles in a character's eyes, just distorted anatomy, and then it'll go to an 8-bit aesthetic, like on one page. It's just crazy beautiful stuff, grotesque and gorgeous. And they're we said this before with Center of the World, that there's op art elements to her work, there's digital elements, there's a style from which we've come to associate with her, and then she branches out and does something totally different in the next panel. Like it's a visual feast. It's should have been called Cassie Hack Year 1, but that's okay. You want to call it Back to School, that's fine. But you should be reading it, because if you haven't read Hack Slash, wow, it's going to be culture shock for you, because it gives you a peek into the early stages of this whole magnificent beast that Tim Seeley has created. But it's called Hack Slash Back to School, Zoe Thorogood. Just read it, because it is a treat.
Treat.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta get the second issue. In your travels, I just read this tonight before we started, and I absolutely have been, as much as I've been enjoying this current volume of Superman, this ninth issue was fantastic. As recently, Superman has been taking on these two brothers, Dr. Farm and Mr. Graft, and it's Pharm, who have been enhancing some of Superman's rogues. But in the recent issue, a couple issues prior to 9, there was a gentleman by the name of Sam Stryker who was imprisoned because he has powers, and Lex had imprisoned him, and Superman accidentally, inadvertently freed him. Unfortunately, this dude who looks like Chamber, drawn by Chris Pajalo, it's called The Chained, and he was destroying Metropolis left and right because he's got a thing against Lex Luthor, and of course because Superman is here working with Lex to a degree. Stryker also decided to take that out on Superman, poisoning him with kryptonite, and he was basically left for dead. And this issue starts off with Lois reading a letter, and then we see that and she started, and it's a really touching story. It's a great letter from a boy who Superman found, rescued. The boy's name is Jamie. Found Jamie's dog Bucky, brought him home. A week later, Jamie's brother Sean was shot during a bank robbery, and the ambulance was stuck in traffic. Superman swooped down, brought the ambulance to the hospital, saving his brother. And she's breaking up in tears, and we see Superman is basically with these massive sun lamps getting healed, and she's surrounded by sacks of mail, and she's basically just here keeping her husband company as he recuperates. And we see some flashbacks with the two of them through the years. But while all this is going on, there's a real touching moment when Superman barely recovers and climbs down out of the contraption that's healing him. Lois is extremely happy that he's back, and then of course Superman, being Superman, wants to get back at it and go after Farm and Graft, but Mercy is reminding him that basically any amount of kryptonite that he comes across can very well kill him. So they bring out the Lex armor, which Superman tweaks. And there's a neat scene where Superman shows up all armored out because Dr. Farm is going to, I guess, enlist Marilyn Moonlight in his brother's endeavors. But she's fighting back. Superman shows up, so now it's 2-on-1. And Graft, during the fight, blasts. He threatens Superman with his kryptonite claw, and when he goes to zap Superman, he's not aiming for Superman. He actually hits Marilyn, and when Superman runs or leaps towards her, there's a big bright light, and Superman and Marilyn Moonlight are both gone. They disappeared. And Lex, of course, is in Superman's ear while this fight's going on, and all of a sudden he hears nothing. Superman's gone. Mercy no longer tracks him, no trace of him. And then for some reason, we cut to the Old West, and there's a train leaving the Metropolis station, and there's like this old-looking, there's this old woman on a train with two young boys that are inventors or visionaries even, and precious cargo is on this train. And she says it's going to turn Metropolis into the city of tomorrow. And some cowboy walks in and says you should probably coin that phrase. It's pretty catchy. And it turns out the cowboy and his sidekick are Nighthawk and Cinnamon, who we haven't seen in ages. And then we see some dude on a horse galloping up towards the train, hops on the roof. Nighthawk and Cinnamon run up after him, and they notice that this bandit doesn't carry any guns, but they draw theirs on him, and then they start to get very hot. They drop the guns, and somebody says, "I don't like sidearms. If you kindly excuse me, I'm robbing this train." And this dude looks an awful lot like Superman, and that's where the issue ends. Titled the next issue is The Man of Yesterday. So they threw me for a loop with this going back in time. Can't wait to see how Williamson's going to work this out. But this issue is actually drawn by Bruno Redondo, and it looks amazing. But yeah, it was a fun little issue. I mean, it's nice to see Superman all healed and whatnot. But yeah, I absolutely, as much as I enjoyed the previous issues, this one really put me in a good mood. So yeah, In Your Travels, Superman by Williamson Redondo and colored by Adriano Lucas.
That's Redonkulous.
That is. That's a good one.
Is there still Nightwing right now? What's he doing? He had a month off.
Tom Taylor's still doing Nightwing, yeah. Mm-hmm. In Your Travels, if you didn't buy this for Magnetic, you're going to be mad at yourself because you should have. But fortunately, because Magnetic's badass, you can still buy it, even if you didn't do the Kickstarter. But there is a gentleman by the name of George Bess. Hopefully many of you have heard of him.
Best believe it.
You best believe that. He is in his mid-70s at this point, but he has had quite a few interesting periods of his career. And I'm sure we've touched on him a few times over the years, but nothing we never really have given him a proper artist spotlight. But he I guess probably best known for his Jodorowsky period. Fair to say, Vince, right? That's probably what most people know him for, I would think, right?
I don't want to say definitively, but I would guess.
Yeah. So he did 14 books with Jodorowsky, including a bunch of White Llama books, some Annabelle 5, and then Juan Solo, different OGNs from a period of late 80s to late 90s. And then he started doing his own books. He's very much into the idea of Buddhism and Tibetan culture. So he's written a lot about that all of that. But in 2017 or 18, he had kind of stopped doing comics at least regularly and was doing fine art. He was doing just big pieces, wall-size pieces. And so he was doing a gallery show in France when his publisher, who at the time was Glenat, who's a well-known publisher there in France now, and they also are an art studio. Glenat's owners came to the show to support him, and they were blown away by one particular giant piece. It was a Gothic piece, very full of all kinds of macabre imagery, and it had nothing to do with anything. It was just purely from his mind, but it reminded the Glenat publisher of this great Gothic storytelling you'd see with your classic horror tropes. And so, long story short, they talked Bess into doing a graphic novel adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that was wildly successful. And then he subsequently was asked by Glenat to follow that up, so he did a adaptation of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein as well. And Magnetic got the rights to both of these beautiful books and put them out in a two collection set of the George Best collection. And first of all, it's Magnetic, so the quality of the actual physical book is just a sight to behold. They're same trade dress. The main difference is that the Dracula book is it's white. It's a white hardcover with spot varnish black illustration, but the Dracula is in red metallic overlay outline, and then the Frankenstein is silver. But everything else, like typography, layout, all the same, which I just love. And I would say, I mean, it was either a week or two ago we were talking about a bunch of different vampire books, and we kind of went off on like that stuff. I would say, as someone who has read an inordinate amount of vampire stories, this is right up there with the best drawn vampire stuff I've ever seen. I think Bess basically he takes a true to book adaptation of both of these stories. If you're familiar with the source material, like, you're going to get what you read is what you're gonna get in these books. I will say that. And I don't know if you thought this, Vince, because at least I know you looked through it. You didn't read it per se, but this visually, from a story, like from a pacing perspective, and the way the chapters are broken out and the big beats of the book, it's very much like Bram Stoker Dracula by Coppola. Like it's kind of the same vibe as that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because the scene where Dracula in wolf beast bat form ravages Lucy on top of the slab.
Yeah.
That's straight out of Coppola. I mean, it is really close.
Yes, agreed. But I admittedly wasn't all that familiar with Bess's artwork. Like, I knew the name, but I hadn't read a lot of the work that he had done, in part because a lot of it hadn't been brought over here in English. But I was just stunned by the art, and so much so that I thought, okay, well, here's dude in his mid-70s, and he's been doing stuff for 40 years, so like, it's not a question of like, oh, he looks like these modern artists. I'm thinking like they look like him. So then I got curious, and I thought, well, I wonder if these people have come on record as being influenced by him. And a few were. So like, when I'm reading this book, I'm thinking, the Dracula book in particular, I'm thinking like, this looks like Olivier Coipel. This looks like Jim Chung. Like, it's that kind of like laser precise line, but with tons of different tricks, whether it be shading or heavy blacks or lots of cross hatching, depending on the scene. So like, a really accomplished, versatile artist. But like, underlying it all are beautiful things, meaning like the women are beautiful, the men are handsome, even the creatures aren't like grotesque. They're very much like romanticized. They're ornate, but they're still like there's a symmetry to them, like the beauty of symmetry. And I thought, wow, all of these artists that like I've always loved, like Pepe Larraz, like they all look like this dude. Like, and so I went and I looked, and like I definitely saw interviews where both Coipel and Larraz have said that Bess is one of their big influences, and I'm like, aha! So it was like this light went on. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So Bess is like a G for me now, because obviously the people that have adorned his style or been touched by it are some of my favorite modern comic book storytellers. So like, these books are beautifully made. They're really well, I think, executed renditions of the source material. So if you're a traditionalist and you like the source material, you will adore these things. And I don't want to play favorites here because I thought they were both great, but like, I will say that just because I tend to be more into vampire mythology, like the Dracula one for me is like, if you had to only choose one, I would say get the Dracula. But ideally, you just grab both of them and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I think the Frankenstein got away from him, where his attention seemed to have wandered a little bit. There was nothing extraneous in the Dracula book, but in the Frankenstein, you get double page spreads of an owl and a wolf and a hawk or something, and just massive stretches of wilderness. Like, that's great, and the guy could draw like a son of a bitch, but I think his attention was not as laser precise as it was on Dracula.
Right.
And Shelley's Frankenstein feels a little bit more like a travelogue, right? Like it does.
Yeah, no, you're right there. But I mean, there's a lot of drawings of creatures other than the monster in this book. Like, I get the link between the feral animal verse and the monster. Like, okay, slam that home. But there are too many pretty drawings in Frankenstein that don't really serve the story.
Right.
And I took issue with him introducing the Igor character because Igor's not in the original book. And then in here it's called Sven. But I mean, that's not a transgression. I mean, if you want to tweak it, everyone, if you interviewed 100 people and said, asked them about the book Frankenstein, you mentioned, that one scene with Igor is really great. They'd be like, yeah, Igor never appears in the book. It's a movie thing, where that's just the zeitgeist of Frankenstein. Victor has to have an Igor. So it's not out of place, but it is if you're being faithful to the original novel, right?
This is something that maybe is totally unfair, but I'll ask you because I know how much you care about what I'm about to mention, Vince, in particular. But to me, it's like I'm reading both of these, and again, I think they're awesome and worth people's money and time. But like, as I'm reading the Dracula one, I'm thinking, like I just said, like I think having read and or watched or like many incarnations of Dracula, I think I could make the case that in terms of comic book, this is the best looking version of the original story I've seen visually. Like that would be, again, I haven't done like a full audit, but in my mind, I'm like, I could see like thinking this is the best I've ever seen Dracula drawn. Whereas, and again, I'm putting the Marvel version of Dracula, like that's its own thing to me. That's not right. It's Dracula in name, but that's a different thing. I'm talking about the Bram Stoker Dracula. Whereas with this, the Frankenstein, like again, I think it's beautiful, but I'm reading it like I'm unfairly thinking like, yeah, but Wrightson though. I mean, like
where do you go from Wrightson?
No,
down?
That's the thing, and it's
right.
like, so for me, it's like I don't think you could credibly say this is a more impressive take on Frankenstein than what Wrightson gave us.
Yeah,
and it's really not fair to like compare them, but like in my mind, that's where I went. Whereas like again, I can't offhand think of a graphic novel adaptation of Dracula that I say like, oh, that's doesn't hold a candle to that. I don't think this Frankenstein holds a candle to Wrightson because what does, right? But like, so to me, it's like, okay, if you tell someone like I want to read Frankenstein in comics, like, well, get the Bernie Wrightson stuff. Whereas with Dracula, I think it could be the best adaptation of the classic Dracula story ever. So, yeah. What's that?
Better than Mignola?
Yeah, just different, right? I mean,
that is adaptation of the
movie
too.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's up there too for sure. I mean, that's great. How can I say anything bad about that? But yeah, but just for me, I think like because the source material is romantic. Right, it's gothic romance. Like this particular style, I think works really well for it. Like to me, like Dracula's brides should be gorgeous, right? Like they should, like Harkness and Lucy should be beautiful. Like in my like just because I think that's what was intended in the book, right? Whereas like so yeah, I'll say I think this stands up to that at least, if not for me a little better. But again, we're talking high praise, so.
I've seen it's been on the shelf in my shop for the past few weeks, and I didn't know what it was exactly. So
I think a lot of people weren't sure what this was. Like just like they weren't sure if it was like old material, just like reprinted from something. And even I didn't realize until after I had already backed it that it was relatively new stuff. And then you run the risk of like, okay, best may be a G, but like is dude doing his best work in his 70s? But let me tell you something. I mean, guy was like. If I'm doing the math right, he was like 71 when he drew the Dracula book. Like, that is insanity to me. Because this is just... I mean, it looks like it's from the hand of a, in their prime, 35-year-old artist, right?
Love that.
That's right.
Love. You want me to do mine? We ready?
Better.
It's like it's his first time on the show. Like, he doesn't know how it works.
Well, I didn't know if you had closed out, if you were still going.
No, we're good. Yeah, we're good.
In your travels, first of all, make sure that you tell your shop you want Feral. Pre-order that.
When's FOC?
FOC is not until February, so you got time.
Okay.
But, the sooner the better. It would make me feel much better if you just ran out and did it right away. 2 days after Christmas, the next Wednesday, new issue of Local Man, which, like I said, the single issue is going to be different from any other reprints. So even if you read that in trade, I would say pick up this single issue, issue 8. And a new issue of Army of Darkness Forever comes out on the 27th, too. So check those out. But my actual In Your Travels from Boom Studios and from David and Maria Lapham is Underheist, #1. David Lapham, one of my favorite creators of all time, Straight Bullets, maybe a perfect comic book. Only imperfect in that it's not finished and that he always just seems to stop for years at a time. But this book feels, like a lot of his stuff feels straight bulletsy. He always writes about these characters that like the Baxter. What's up, bud? You want this treat?
Duh.
Hold on. He writes these characters that really should just not have fucked around. Like if they just hadn't fucked around, everything would be
They
fine.
wouldn't have found out. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just like David Lapham is like a master of like people who are just sort of in a little bit of trouble and then they get into a ton more trouble just by fucking around. And that's what happens in this book. It's a story about these people who are sort of like getting by okay. Things aren't going great. But they decide to rob people who are robbing a bank. They find out that these people are going to rob a bank and that they're planning on escaping through the tunnels down in the subway. And these people are like subway construction workers, so they know those tunnels. And so they decide like, all right, well, we're going to rob them. And everything goes to shit, of course. And that's just the first issue of this thing, so we assume there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. But just the idea of robbing robbers underground, under heist, like it's a cool idea, and it's the Laphams, obviously really confident crime storytellers. You just jump right into it, and they handle everything with great aplomb. Big thumbs up on this book, and it's in color, which oftentimes David Lapham is not. Colorist is Hilary Jenkins, and yeah, it looks great. Under Heist, #1 from Boom Studios. Laphams.
Look at that. Amazing.
I agree with you about that Hack Slash. I thought that second issue was great. She really does. She jumps around in the form of comic storytelling.
Yeah.
Very freely. I love that.
Pretty
about her.
effortlessly to me. Yeah.
And cosplaying too as the character.
Yes.
Yeah, just stop.
She's going out there catching COVID every which way.
Yeah, it's true.
Steps out her door. She's struck down by COVID.
She is a COVID magnet.
Yes. Jason, add this to your Dracula adaptation stack. Fernando Fernandez did an adaptation.
Okay.
That's my pinnacle.
All right.
Fully painted. I don't remember when it came out. Maybe early 90s. It's one volume. It's a slim volume. It doesn't cover every aspect of the story because Dracula's a huge book, right? But you can still get it. And yeah, I love that book.
Looks like Basil Gogos.
Yes, there's a strong Gogos vibe. Yeah.
What was the one we talked about on here before that Fantagraphics put out? I got that one. And it's a guy that like draws in many different styles, but this is like paint.
Breccia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That one's great. Yeah. But that one's a little against
We
the
just
grain.
talked about the manga adaptation of it. What
DRCL.
Yeah.
And then Dracula X Frankenstein, we talked about that not too long ago.
Universal Monsters is doing a Dracula right now.
Yeah.
Tinian, yeah.
Yeah.
Sydenham. A lot of Draculas.
Well,
Wow. This thing you're talking about looks dope.
it's great. Yeah, it's wonderful. But again, public domain, right?
Yeah.
What publisher isn't going to take a bite out of Dracula if they don't have to pay rights for the original story?
Why wouldn't
Oh,
you?
this looks good, man.
Yeah. I have like 3 copies of it.
Oh my god, what?
There's three
Yeah.
of us.
Because
Mail something in the mail, bro.
Because there's one I read very frequently, and then the other 2 are there for archival purposes.
Oh, you are something else.
Right?
I love it. It's great. But
You
yeah,
have a brother been on the bus, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, man, appreciate that."
oh man,
It's like, "Oh, I got
I was waiting for
17
that.
copies of this, but I need one for each of my."
It's like $25
My
here on
homes.
eBay.
oh, it's cheaper than that. That's more than the
Amazon,
cover.
it's $50.
How much?
15.
There you go. Yeah, that's about that.
15?
Yeah, I think that's about the.
50.
Oh
I'm
no,
buying
that's
25 before you get to it.
That's too much. I think I paid like $8 for it when I bought it.
Well, there
got
you
it.
go.
Is
It
that
was
in the 1970s?
no, it was a remainder. It was at a local. Stop, Cox.
Oh shit!
We should do an overview of all of the times, all of the instances of Dracula being adapted.
That would be fun.
There'd be a lot of books.
That would be.
Yeah.
Be a month-long special.
There you go. All right, everybody, please go have a great Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah wrapped up, but I hope you had a great Hanukkah.
Yep.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Dude, the Hanukkah Hallmark episodes are better than the regular Christmas ones.
They're saying, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
They seem to be investing a lot of time and attention into the Jewish-based ones, which is good, right?
Damn right.
Yeah, there we go. Go buy, like we said, please, if you want to save money on comics, go to cheapgraphicnovels.com. Omniboo, collected editions, trade paperbacks, which are the same thing, manga, OGNs, all that stuff, way below list price. And visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/11o'clockcomics. Massive changes coming, so keep an eye on it if you want. But as usual, there's audio, hours and hours of audio that no one else gets to hear. Video, Jason's deep into the advent calendar as usual. Comic pages, comic covers, fanzine downloads, polls, the dedicated Slack channel. Like, it's a whole lot of shaking going on. So check that out, 11 O'Clock Comics Patreon page. I did it backwards, but you know the drill. You've heard it enough. And in the meantime, say goodnight.
Dashing through the snow. Over the fields we go. David all the way.
David all the way. Ho, ho, ho. David.
Is that it?
No, David was at the end of that.
Okay.
Which was the David?
The second one.
Second one.
Third David.
Good night.
What it is about a cat that they shit when you're doing something important.
Whenever we're eating dinner.
Right.
Why? What is it? And she
Usually
usually
he yells when he gets out, like Renee doesn't know. Like he's got to fucking, like she's got to jump to clean it right then and there. David. It's insane.
Oh, no, too early. Too early, my man.
I don't know about that.
I think he nailed it. It's a Christmas miracle.
You always think he nailed it.
I do. I give him the benefit of the doubt.
It's not wrong.
Like, it's weird. She'll cover it, but not if I'm doing something important. She's like, smell my shit, bitch.
That's it.
Like, what? I don't get it.
I own you.
Yeah, pretty
What
much.
are you boys doing for Christmas? Vince, you said you're doing the Feast of the Seven Fishes?
Yes, and we have about 30 people coming to the house.
Me.
Yeah, I'll be there at like 3.
Show up for fish number 4.
If you ever came, I would be like, this is the best Christmas ever.
Oh, I would love to have the 7 fishes so that we can make this happen.
I don't know. I don't
know
know
how
if
I marry an Italian. I don't know how I marry an Italian woman. I never get the Feast of the 7 fishes.
Yeah, but I think that's an acceptable loss.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Trade-off
yeah,
works.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it's forget about it.
Nah, you're right about that.
But I don't think we're having 7 this year. We may have 5. I don't know how it's working out, but it eventually will be 7, I guess, because somebody will bring smelts or shrimp or something.
Shrimps, yeah.
You ever have smelts? Smelts are the best.
Of course.
Yep.
I'm trying to go to
Whoever smelt it dealt it, you know what I'm saying?
So stupid. You're so stupid.
What are you doing, Fleecs? What are you doing for Christmas? What's your Christmas ritual?
I'm flying to my folks' on Saturday, and then we'll be. Looks like my Do Not Disturb turned off. I'm going to my folks' on Saturday, and then I'll fly back on I think the following Wednesday on the 27th. But we'll just do Christmas at my folks'. We just have dinner over there, and but I try to get a midnight mass going because I like to take the brothers and sisters. My parents no longer give a shit about church, but and I don't give a shit about church, but I love singing Christmas carols.
Aw.
So I like to get the sibs together and go get dressed up nice and go out to a midnight mass and sing Christmas carols. But last year we went to Episcopalian, which was very beautiful pageantry, but their Christmas carols are way different. We didn't know what any of the fucking songs were. We're just like, what is this? Talking about, I need O Come Emmanuel.
Do you do the uncle like uncle get everybody gifts, or do you guys do like you have to buy everybody gifts?
We pick names. So I have my niece this year who's 16. She just wants a Sephora gift card, and I got my mom's name, so I had to figure out what to go. I was trying to figure out
What's the going rate for a niece gift card these days? Like, how much are we going for?
I'm gonna do $50. If it was a Stray Dogs year, I'd give her $100. But we're
So next year, whoever gets going to get that feral money, they're going to be like $100. They're going to get.
fingers crossed. Yeah.
Thank you, Pussycat.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
50 seems right. I think like I noticed at some point with my kids, like the birthday gifts went from like $20 to like suddenly we were doing like 50, and I was like, damn. I'm like birthday gift inflation.
Well, when I had previously been a dink, dual income, no kids, we used to love to ball out. Whoever like name we got for Christmas, it was just like, oh, this is great. We can make everyone else look foolish. You know, spend $100, $200, just come in heavy. So we'd like to do that. But yeah, this year's a little tight, so I'm gonna do about $50.
All right.
There you go. All right. You know the drill. Tell them you love them so much.
We really do at this particular time of year as well. So yeah, Merry
Well,
Christmas, Happy
it should
holidays.
be,
Love y'all. Love y'all.
That's it for that one.